Michael, we won the Webby.
Webby Award for Best TV and Film Podcast in the world. Can you imagine? When we started this over a year ago, would you have imagined we'd be voted Best TV and Film Podcast?
Absolutely not. We didn't know what we were doing then. We don't know what we're doing now. Thank you to all our fans.
Fans' choice. It was the fans who had to vote. We were up against the Office Girls, Office Ladies, it's called, right? Which is, they have about 10 times the amount of social media presence that we have. And yet our fans got together and voted us in.
They certainly did. The most loyal fans all over the world. We asked you to vote. You came out, you voted. I want to thank you so much for being loyal listeners. Seriously. And I'm not, I fuck around a lot. I'm not fucking around here. Thank you. We asked, you delivered. We appreciate it. I want to thank the Talking Soprano, Andy and Jeff and Sierra and Tyler and Frank and Bobby. I want to thank the
Richard
Sopranos,
and David,
Richard Young and Lisa Perkin.
Yeah.
And I want to thank you, Michael. Seriously, we started this not knowing what we were doing. And thank you very much. And
congratulations, my friend.
Thank you.
I think, listen, all jokes aside, we do work very hard. We try to do our best show. We try to give the fans, as good a show as we can. And we have a lot of loyal, what's amazing is it's a very consistent number of listeners and viewers. So we found our audience and they stick with us and they loved it so much that they voted us best podcast. I'm very excited and appreciative. Thanks to the fans.
And thanks to Milton Broscock. And Willie Boy. And Willie Boy.
I think we're going to never mention Milton Berle ever again. I think we're going to take that off the table.
The octopus from outer space.
Well, that we can mention again. That's true.
The Jersey Devil.
The Jersey Devil has helped us win the award.
You like the ghosts.
The UFOs, the ghosts, the fortune tellers, all that stuff. Tarot cards, Ouija boards. We've covered it all on
Okay, let's right now. We said if we won the Webby, we'll never talk about Milton Berle again. Milton, we love you, but we're not going to talk
We're
about
done.
it ever again.
I thought we were going to lose, and I was going to blame you, actually. Because you said, they're going to crush us at the last minute. They'll post it. That's exactly how you said it, too. They're going to come out in the last minute and crush us.
Is that what I sound like?
That's exactly how you said it, yeah. That's my imitation of you. So you put that into the universe, you know what I mean?
Oh, is that what it is? That's your Buddhist stuff.
You put it out there. You materialize. You manifest.
This is how I operate.
That's how you
operate. You know me a long time. This is how I operate.
Think about this, right? So this podcast broadcasts electronically. Now, these waves go out into the universe. Some alien intelligence thousands of light years away is going to pick this up eventually. They may think we're the leaders of the planet. You know what I mean? They'll be watching us like, who are these guys?
I thought they're supposed to be smart. If you listen to our podcast for 3 minutes, you know what that's about.
But they won't know what we're talking about. They probably think we're talking about important things since it's already reached their planet.
I don't know what fucking planet you're on. What's happening there, pal?
I'm good. I'm very happy.
Today's a good day.
Very happy. It's spring. We're in New York. I got a haircut. I went to the barber in my neighborhood, and there was a picture of you on the wall signed.
Nice.
So I pointed to it. I say to the guy, I'd never been in before, a Russian guy. I said, "Do you know that guy?" And I pointed to the picture, and he rolled his eyes.
Bullshit.
I said, "What?" He goes, "Don't get." He said he said he was like Faye Dunaway. Every hair he cut on your head, you complained. Too short, too long, not like that, not like this. He said you were the diva of all divas.
You know what's amazing? You got to start right from the beginning.
I'm just telling you what happened. Really? This guy, yeah.
And where was it? What part of the city?
Uptown.
Uptown.
Yeah.
That's sly, because
I
I
don't
don't
know.
go uptown.
Your picture's there. I'm going to take a
He's
picture and send it to
mistaken me
you.
for Vinny Pastor.
I saw the picture.
Or some
What do you
other
mean?
fat Italian actor.
It's your headshot.
Maybe it was Jeff Garland.
No, I was there. I saw it.
Really?
He said you gave him a hard time.
I don't give anybody a hard time.
With your barbers, you do.
I'm as easy breezy, they used to call me. Easy breezy Stevie. I go with the flow, my brother. But today, we have two incredible guests. Two. We have Leslie Bega.
Fantastic.
The great Leslie Bega, who
Yes.
played Valentina La Paz. Just great. Did an incredible job. A fan favorite. And then we have Joe Lisi. Dick Barone.
Yes.
Who has a long history of a bunch of credits and all kinds of stuff. A great New York actor, Broadway actor, ex-cop, and a really good guy and a good friend of ours. Owns a restaurant, Bordeaux. But Leslie, people have been asking for Leslie.
Yeah, and
You ask, we deliver, folks.
Leslie Bega deserves to be on the Mount Rushmore of femme fatales in television history. Born in Los Angeles, valedictorian of her high school class. Made her acting debut at age 6 on Broadway in the play Patriots.
Wow.
Has appeared in over 32 films and TV shows, including CSI, Head of the Class, which is a beloved show. People really have a place in their hearts for that show. Lost Highway, Get Shorty, The American President, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Leslie is a master chef, a very exclusive, ultra-exclusive real estate agent, and was featured on Bravo's $1 Million Listing, and also HGTV's Selling LA. Appeared in 7 episodes of The Sopranos as Valentina La Paz.
And for a lot of people, she was a lot of people's favorite gumata of Tony's.
She was both Ralph Cifaretto and Tony Soprano's gumata. She's the only person that has that distinction. Please welcome the great Leslie Bega. There she is.
Leslie! How
Hi,
are you,
guys.
my friend?
I'm fantastic. How are you?
Good
We're
to see
great.
you.
Thanks for doing the show today.
It's my pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Really appreciate it.
How's the weather over there?
Fantastic.
Nice day today.
Today's gorgeous.
Today's a nice
Yeah.
day. Not as nice as where you are, but it's a nice day. And so you started at 6 years old. How old were you when you started acting?
So my parents were actors. My father actually did a lot of community theater on the side. So he would do Bus Stop, or he would do The Odd Couple. And I used to sneak up into the wardrobe department. So I would dress up and I would do all the lines of all the different characters. And then I got caught. So the next thing I knew, I was on stage, and the first musical I did was Gypsy. And I was in school, and my girlfriend, Lori Fox, actually, was doing commercials. And I said, I think I'd like to do commercials. And without my parents knowing, I dressed myself up. I was a huge sci-fi fan, and I dressed myself up to look like Spock. at least what I thought looked like Spock. I ended up with shaving cream. Yeah, my version of it was shaving cream everywhere. And I took pictures of myself and sent it to an agent.
Really?
So this agent called my house one morning, and she was probably on her 10th cigarette of the morning, and she was like, "Yes, is this Leslie Bega's father?" And he was like, "Yeah, who are you?" She goes, "Your daughter sent me a picture. Anyone with this much moxie, I gotta see." And my mom was like, "Who is that? What did she do?" And my father went, "Your daughter got an agent."
Wow.
So we went to go see her, and of course she had the big cigarette, tray filled with cigarettes, like ashtray. But yeah, and then I started. I did about 100 commercials.
Really?
A lot of starred in Michael Jackson's Pepsi commercial. I did, McDonald's. Actually, a lot of up-and-coming actors were starting out in commercials. So Lisa Bonet, Lil Kwai was one of my dearest friends, and we did a McDonald's commercial together. I did tons of commercials. And then the next thing you knew, I started auditioning for, Michael Landon was huge at that time. He had Little House on the Prairie and Highway to Heaven and all these shows on TV. And I was a child star. I was, one of those kid stars on TV.
Wow.
And ended up doing movies. And I still go back to community theater and to theater. And every time I'd be on hiatus from head of the class, I'd go back to New York, because a lot of the theater I did was in Westchester Playhouse.
Oh,
and,
really? That's where I'm from,
I'd go back,
Westchester.
Westchester.
Yeah.
Maybe you know the Westchester Playhouse.
I do.
And then I'd go on my hiatuses from head of the class because I just craved the theater. I would go do Shakespeare in the Park or whatever I could find, whatever I could do. And I was a huge fan of Edie's because I'd seen her. I went to see her 3 times in Frankie and Johnny with Stanley Tucci. I've seen her in House of Blue Leaves. I saw her in Night Mother. I was a huge fan of Edie's. And I loved the theater. I loved the stage. And that's what led me to working with Larry Moss, who's my mentor and acting coach of 25 years.
So did you grow up in New York?
He loves the theater.
Were you in New York or L.A., really?
Bi-coastal. I was
You grew
bi-coastal
up
with New York and
bi-coastal.
L.A.
Yeah, as a kid.
Yeah.
Okay. That makes sense.
Head of the class, how old were you then? You played a high school kid, right?
Yeah, I was just in my first year of college. I was a cinema major and a drama minor. And I was in my first year of college, and I got head of the class, and I ended up having to go finish school later, at a later time because I had to leave school because I got a job. So
Yeah.
I ended up on head of the class. And
Where were you at college? What school were you going to?
USC,
USC. Oh, they have a good drama department, right?
the best. And
The
they have
best,
they have a great business school. I went back when I got my broker's license in real estate. I went back to the Marshall School of Business. So
Whoa.
it's the best school ever.
And Larry Moss is, I've heard so many great things about him. He's an LA based, like the guru of acting, right? He's as good as anybody, right?
Oh, he's the master. And I don't know if I can articulate what a profound human being he is, because he's done so much work on himself. Aside from loving and devouring the great playwrights. And because my parents were in the theater, I grew up with this library. I had the privilege of having a library of all of the great playwrights from Ibsen and Chekhov and Eugene O'Neill and Strindberg and Shaw and Tennessee Williams and Mamet and Shanley and Shakespeare and Pinter and Neil Simon. And I just devour these great playwrights. And I heard that when I went to study with Larry, that the reason why I went to study with him is because he loved the playwrights and loved the storytelling and just devoured the theater first and foremost, even though he was a major acting coach to some award-winning actors.
And he still teaches now, Leslie.
Mm-hmm. He still teaches. Mm-hmm.
So tell me, so how do you go from there? How do you audition for The Sopranos? What happens? Run me through that whole process.
Well, I'd gotten married and left for a while, and traveled the world 3 times and left the country, and then came back after we got divorced. And I was basically a has-been. I thought I'm not going to get into. I didn't even have an agent. I didn't know how I was going to get back into acting, but I was a big fan of certain casting directors. Sheila Jaffrey and Georgianne Walken were 2 of my favorite casting directors. Anything they'd cast, I'd have to go see. And I found out that they were casting one of the roles for The Sopranos. And The Sopranos, to me, when I saw the very first episode, I went, wow, because, if you think about it, I came from the censored primetime television, and you didn't see that kind of television that was theatrical. And David Chase was the first person to not underestimate the audience intelligence and to basically tell you the truth. And that was it drew me in. And I heard that they were casting for the FBI agent. And for me, there's about 6 degrees of separation with everything that's related to The Sopranos. So Johnny V and I played boyfriend and girlfriend on a cop show, on an FBI show called C16 FBI with Eric Roberts. And I also knew Jimmy, because Jimmy and I did get Shorty together. And so I heard that they were casting the FBI agent, and Georgianne said, I'm going to let you audition, but we need this other role. I want you to read for this other role. We've looked all over New York. We can't find her. And I thought to myself, man, I'm not even on the A list or B list. I'm not even on the G list. I'm probably like on a negative list. And she's asking me to read for something else. This is amazing. And I got the part. And I thought, I can't play a bombshell. I've played, intellects. I've played cops. How am I going to play a bombshell? And they said, well, we need it. we need her cast now. And I said, I'll audition for her if you let me audition for the FBI agent. She said, deal. Here's the caveat. We need you to send your tape in or your video in by tomorrow morning. And it was already the end of the day, LA. So I was under a time crunch, found a camera, borrowed a push-up bra, and did Valentina, did the FBI agent. And there's a guy that was on Buffy the Vampire Slayer, which was a TV show at the time. His name was James Marsden. And he lived downstairs from a casting director friend that I borrowed the camera from. And I said, I got to transfer this. I've got like 10 minutes to get to FedEx. We transferred it onto a little VHS during that time. What was it, 2002? It was a VHS. I get to FedEx just in time. Mine was the last package going to New York, and I saw it going down the conveyor belt. And I went, oh, this is never going to happen. I don't know how this, I was lucky, and I just felt like honored to read for the girls. That's how I felt. I get a call the next day. I think I was in acting class with Larry. I get a call, and they said, we need you to come to New York, like tonight.
Wow.
And I said, I said, I need to know, what are my odds? Because, flying to New York, it's a big trip. It's not like a private plane or anything.
And they weren't going to fly you. They weren't paying.
No. And I said, I can do it, but I just need to know what the odds are. And they're like, no, you have the part. I was like, that's crazy. And I said to Larry, because I was sitting there with Larry, and I said, there's something about me that feels like I want to stay in this bubble with you. And he said, well, that makes sense. That's because this is so real. And I said to him, well, let's go see how real that is. I'm sure it's very real. So I got on a plane. I'm still just torn about how I'm going to play this role. There was a size difference between me and Jimmy, and how I was going to get the bombshell thing down. And Julia Polka, who's amazing costume designer, just literally figured Valentina out. I mean, she dressed me up. It was perfect. Steve did my makeup, and they turned me into Valentina physically.
Tell me, Valentina is a very specific character, I have to say, and you played her perfectly. I can't imagine anybody doing that but you, and you brought a lot to that part. Tell the audience who you think Valentina was.
Well, David and I had a whole different vision for Valentina, and here's another 6 degrees of separation. Dan Attias was an ace director on the 2-hour pilot to 90210 that I did. And Dan was talking to David about this part, and I was told by, because Dan and David knew each other from Northern Exposure, I was told that they had a completely different vision. When I read her, I saw her like an Italian Jessica Rabbit. That's who I saw.
Mm-hmm.
And David had a completely different vision for her as well. But when they saw my read, David immediately said to Dan, that's who we're going with. That's the direction we're going. It's like, oh, great. I made her fun, I made her
Yeah.
I made her have fun, and I think that's what you're talking about, my different take on it.
And what was your first scene? Do you remember your first scene, Leslie?
Yes. this is hilarious because I was so excited to work with Joey Pants. We walk into the horse stables, Joey and I, and that's when I meet Tony Soprano, Jimmy. And I took Ralphie aside, I took Joey aside, and I said, we're walking in together and we've been dating. We don't have any backstory. Do you want to do backstory? And he goes, yeah, let's do backstory. So I said, how do you think we met? Were we clubbing? And he goes, yeah, we're clubbing, bar clubbing. And he goes, yeah. And then we started going out to all night underground clubs and I said, we were getting lit, right? And he goes, yeah, we were snorting amyl nitrate. And I was like, amyl nitrate, what's that? I'm like, okay, I'm going to go for it. Were we like dancing in peak foam coming from the ceiling? So that's why when you see me and Joey walk in, and we've been having a blast. We've been partying, we've been clubbing, and we just walk in with these big smiles on our face.
That's funny.
That's great.
And then there's this connection between Valentina and Tony that is so undeniable. It's the physical connection that I think was just magnetically on fire.
Yeah, without a doubt. I mean, and she's, like you said, she's fun. She's very, she has a lot of sexuality, but she's not, Ralphie has that dark side of sexuality, and that's not really her thing. She's much more about passion, it seems, and romance than she is about that kind of, darkness that Ralphie was into.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Valentina, she's probably like me, like I'll try anything once. And I think that she probably had a lot of fun with Ralphie. And I think that her connection with Tony was just so undeniable, and she had to explore it. And I think that he was getting really twisted with like the grater.
That was a deal breaker. The cheese grater, huh?
That was when I was like, I got to tell you, this is not.
Yeah.
This is not for me.
You draw the line at Parmesan. That's it.
But yeah, and he was asking me because he had heard some things that he needed to verify and validate. So that was the whole questioning while he called me.
And then you and Jim had these intimate scenes. I know Jim wasn't the most comfortable with that stuff. But I guess the two of you, they came out great. They look great. I mean, did you help each other along, or did you make him feel more comfortable?
Oh, yeah, I mean, it really takes, at the end of the day, it's two people. And because we had a friendship and we'd hung out before, I mean, we'd hang out during the day, or we'd go to dinner, or we went to a ball game once. I mean, we hung out, we were friends, so we had a trust, and we had an intimacy already that was really trustworthy. There's so much that's unspoken with Jimmy. We knew we had to make it hot, and I knew that I wanted it to be like you were spying on someone through a window, but you shouldn't be watching this, because I felt like that would be the truth.
And Valentina was she was a jokester, right? With the salt, and she liked to play the practical jokes on Ralphie with step in the door, in the horse shit. She was fun, but one of the greatest things is the scene in the bar where you smacked Jim, and it looked like you really smacked him when he says, I already took his horse, right? What did he say to you?
Jimmy said, hit me.
Yeah, I'm sure.
I hit him.
Yeah, you did.
I mean, the whole side of his face was red by the time we got done with all of our takes.
I bet.
The whole side of his face was red. But, he puts his shoulder behind everything he does. That's why he's so brilliant. I mean, and he's so fascinating to watch when he's not saying anything, because that there's like 10,972 thoughts going, jetting through his brain, and you can feel and see them all. And, it's like watching scenes between him and Edie. They would create a scene that had like 52 transitions, and you're like, oh my God, it was so breathtaking. I mean, their scenes together, anything that they did together was breathtaking, whether they had a lot of dialogue or they sat in silence. So
Now you
working
did.
with Jimmy was like that. I mean, you knew that you were just going to discover moment to moment and unfold that story and live your way into the answer of whatever story you're telling.
Now you did 7 episodes. Did you get the phone call? Did you go into his office? How did it happen for you?
No, David didn't even have he didn't even have the guts to call me. No, I read it in the script and I was like, oh, this is great.
Oh,
If I'm going to
okay.
go, I'm going to go out. I'm going to go out on fire.
When you got hired, was it for one episode, or did they say it's going to be a series of episodes, an arc, or what was the deal like?
They knew it was going to be an arc. You know, you never know with these things.
Right.
I remember when I did the pilot to 90210, they had 10 episodes written for me, but I had 2 films I was going to do back to back and I couldn't do it. So they had an arc, but you know, I was working on CSI. I didn't know, what they had planned. So they had to coordinate it.
And did you know, Leslie, did you know kind of the storyline? Did you know what you were going to have to do? That you were going to have all these sex scenes, you were going to have to do this? Did you know any of that, or you just got the script like the rest of us and went, okay,
I knew that there would be some graphic nudity and sex scenes, but I didn't know how much. I mean, they kept piling them on. We shot stuff that never made the cut, and I got to say, it was graphic. It was more graphic than what ended up on the show, and that's
Really?
pretty graphic.
really?
And I knew it would be dangerous for me as a person because it would be changing. Here's the juxtaposition of my career, having played, honor students and other characters that weren't taking their clothes off. So I knew it would put me into a different category.
Did you I'm sure you got recognized all over the place immediately, right?
Yeah, I'm good at hiding though. I can look like a preteen with no makeup and a ponytail. I'm really good at no, seriously, I'm really good at flying under the radar. And I was doing a lot of real estate too. I did tons of stuff for a few of the characters on the show, a few of the actors on the show. Lorraine, I did 2 of her properties in LA.
Oh,
We
really?
had so much fun. Yeah, the last house she did, I looked at her because she had to remodel it, and I said, "You could do this. You could do this for a living. You're good." But we had so much fun. Yeah, I did the real estate.
When did
Why
that
not?
start? When did you get into that business?
I was on head of the class, and I started investing my theatrical money in real estate. Not thinking anything, but I would do multifamily buildings. I would do, residential, some commercial as an investor. And then about, 20 years ago, I decided I'm going to need something to fall back on because I don't know what's happening in my career. I don't know if I'll be able to work again. I just came back from being divorced and not knowing if I was going to be able to get back into the industry or not. I didn't have an agent. I didn't have a manager. So I got my broker's license. And then I got Sopranos, and then I got CSI. And thank God for CSI, because I was going from like this, bombshell with the 9-inch nails, and then I'd flick off the nails at the end of the day and put on the gloves and go into forensics. And that to me was a dream. It's an actor's, as you guys know, it's an actor's dream come true to be able to play different characters in different roles.
The real estate, you enjoy it? Do you like selling real estate?
Oh, it's great. It's on fire too right now.
You've done well. You need your own show. That's what we need to get you. Your own show. The Leslie Bega
Let's do it.
show. That's what we need.
Yeah.
Real estate. I'm writing all these diabolical stories that I go through in real estate. You can't make this stuff up.
I bet.
I mean, it's the most profound greed and debauchery and like you can't even think it up. And I started writing it all out as a series. So I have about 10 years worth of stories of things that you wouldn't even believe.
You got to get that out
Should
there.
publish it as a book.
I was thinking that.
Yeah, that's a good idea. I bet that's probably would be a good seller. I mean, and have a lot of potential commercially. That's a good idea.
So, Leslie, we got 200,000 people or so watching this. If they need a house in L.A., how do they get a hold of you, or do you want them to get a hold of you? Not Valentina, folks. Leslie Bega, not Valentina.
I usually turn them on to a team of associates that I have. They're all my assistants, and they vet them. And then if they're serious and if they want to buy a property, usually people come to me by referral, and I like that the best.
Yeah.
Because I know who's referring someone to me.
Understood. Leslie, I couldn't thank you enough. Good luck with everything. Really, thank you so much
for doing the
show. We really
today,
enjoyed
Leslie.
it. Thank you, and we'll see you sooner than later. Good luck with everything.
Take care.
Thank
I
you,
hope to
Leslie.
see you guys soon.
Great seeing
Bye,
you.
guys.
There you go.
Bye.
See you, Leslie. There you have it.
All right, Leslie Bega.
That was very nice of her. Great talking to her.
Valentina La Paz.
She was great on the show. And let's take a break and then come back with Mr. Joe Lisi. You know, Michael, I don't like that many people. I think you know.
I know that.
Right?
Yeah.
You know, I don't like that many people. A lot of people don't like me, and I'm absolutely fucking fine with that. I don't really care. But this guy is a friend, and I really like him. And I've known him for quite a while. He's a terrific actor. He's done a ton of stuff, a New York guy. He was only in 3 episodes of the show, but you talked about him a lot. He owned Barone Sanitation, where Tony had a job, and we meet his son later on. He was a cop, NYPD, retired as a captain. If you think that's fucking easy. 24 years. He's appeared in over 70 films and TV shows, including The Blacklist, Summer of Sam, which you wrote, Man on a Ledge, Trees Lounge, which you were in, I believe, was Steve Buscemi directed. Blue Bloods, was a regular cast member on Third Watch, which was a great show. And let's introduce my good friend and a good fucking guy, Mr. Joe Lisi. There he is.
There he is. All right.
Hey, good afternoon, gentlemen. How are you?
Hello, Joe. Good to see you, man. It's been a while.
Thanks for coming on, brother. Nice to see you.
Oh, I have been having so much fun watching you guys. I can't thank you enough for including me.
And you enjoy my stuff more than Michael's, right?
Well, now, your stuff is good, Steve. Your stuff is good. Michael's is good. Put me on the spot right away, because what am I going to say? You know?
So, Joe, you were a police captain for how many? You were a policeman for how many years before you became an actor? Or were you acting before?
No. I was in the police department. I took my first acting lesson when I was 29 years old. I made my Broadway debut when I was 52 years old.
All right.
So there was a time from the 80s and 90s where I was on active duty in the police department and working as an actor as well. As a matter of fact,
Wow.
In 1989, there's a story. There was a show called True Blue. It was an NBC series. It was about the emergency service cops, a Sonny Grasso show. And he hired me to play the precinct commander, which I did. And the irony of life is that I was a captain in the police department, and I was playing a captain on television. And I made more in one day as a captain on television than I made all week as a real captain.
Of course.
Where were you a captain? Which part of New York?
Well, I was a captain in narcotics, and then I was the commanding officer of the 17th precinct, which is the Silk Stocking district, the east side of Manhattan, from 30th Street to 59th Street, where the UN complex is. I dealt with a lot of the diplomats and, Sutton Place, Beekman Place.
Wow.
So the hoity-toity. The hoity-toity.
Yeah, I was the boss of that precinct for 2 years, and in all the community meetings I went to, never once did the issue of crime come up. The people there were worried about things like bicycle deliveries and black cars. This was long before Uber. But thank God it was a really very decent neighborhood. A lot different from when I started in Bed-Stuy and Fort Greene back in the early 70s.
Well, that must have been tough, huh? Uh, so, what made you want to become an actor, Joe? I mean, just did someone approach you, or was it your idea, and you just said, "I want to do something different when I retire"? What was that?
You know, growing up as a kid in the city, there's only two things I really wanted to be. I wanted to be a New York City cop, and I wanted to be an actor. And I think that is because of the show The Untouchables. I don't know if you remember that. You guys
Sure.
might not be old enough.
Oh,
But Robert Stack played Elliot Ness. And
sure.
between Robert Stack and James Cagney and Bogey and Spencer Tracy, I wanted to be an actor. So I was working in a detective squad in Brooklyn, and I saw in the local paper when I lived in Queens that a community theater was having a play. So I went down and I tried out because I didn't even know what the word audition meant. Anyway, I got the part. Of course, the play was Arsenic and Old Lace. There were two uniformed cops in there, small parts, and I was lucky enough to get one of them. And I had so much fun doing that I was told, if you want to be an actor, go learn how to be an actor. So that's when I started to study.
Where did you study?
I studied first at HB Studio for 3 years with a guy named Ed Morehouse. Then I took Stella Adler's script interpretation class. And then finally I did the 2-year program with Bill Esper. He's the Meisner guy,
Yeah.
Nice.
formerly of the Neighborhood Playhouse, and then he started his own studio.
So you took it very, very seriously. Like you really wanted it. You weren't just waiting for somebody to hand you a little role. You went out, you studied, you wanted to really approach, sometimes people who come from other walks of life, they just fall into it and then things start to happen. But you really, you kind of buckled down and did the work and wanted to really get into this profession.
I did. I wanted it. I really wanted it more than anything else. And it's funny, because like the cops will tell you, hey, you're an actor, I'm an actor. Why can't I do it? I think I'm going to do it. They don't know that it's not easy to do it. The trick is to make it look easy. But, it does take a lot of work. But it's something you can learn to do.
Did
And you said you made a Broadway debut. What was that? What play did you do?
I did a play called Take Me Out. We actually won the Tony Award for Best Play back in. I'm a little fat kid from Queens. I wound up working on the stage in London. And then we did the play at the Public Theater, and then they took us to Broadway, and we were lucky enough to get the Tony Award.
About baseball, right?
It was about baseball. The story was a biracial baseball player. We're a team similar to the Yankees. We wore pinstripes. We were going for our third consecutive series, and we have some trouble. The biracial player calls a press conference and tells everybody that he's gay. And that sends the team into a tailspin. We start to lose, so they bring in a redneck guy from a pitcher to be a closer. And then there's the conflict between the team and all that. Ultimately, there's a murder. And it was a really wonderful play written by Richard Greenberg.
So how does The Sopranos come about? I mean, you had been working before The Sopranos. You had done quite a bit of work, right?
I did, and I think if I remember right, I went in originally for Artie Bucco. And of course I didn't get that. John got it and he did a wonderful job on that. But then they made me Dick Barone. And I knew, Sheila and Georgianne, they had cast me previously in Trees Lounge. As a matter of fact, to have the honor, I worked in the first day of shooting, the first scene with Steve, the very first scene that he ever directed in the first day of shooting of his first movie. So that was a lot of fun.
You were in the pilot of The Sopranos, right?
I was in the pilot, yes. And another thing I'll never forget, I'm walking on 23rd Street by the Flatiron Building, and David Chase comes up to me. And he was so excited. He said, this was after the pilot. He said, Joe, we got picked up. We're good. It's going to happen, this and that. First of all, I couldn't believe that he even remembered who I was. It was so nice of him to come up and then to share that information with me. And then, to go back into the show, even for that short amount of time, was just a blessing.
Well, he was just walking down 23rd Street?
He was just walking. I'll never forget it. He came up to me in the middle of Fifth Avenue, 23rd Street. Joe. It took me a minute to realize who it was, and then he told me.
It took me 6 episodes for him to know who I was. He must have liked you.
How many did it take for me to know who you were?
Yeah, you fuck. He high-hatted me. Do you know, Joe? I met Michael in the 2nd season. I don't know, and somebody introduced me. I was on the pay no mind list, like a fucking
He's told
piece
the story about 50 times now on this podcast.
A piece of gum on his shoe. You know how he is. You know how Michael could be at times. You know that, Joe.
I've never been that way with Joe. Joe and I know. Well, you were also on Summer of Sam. You played part of Ben Gazzara's crew, right? You were his
God, that was another experience. Ben Gazzara. He was unbelievable. A lot of fun to work with. And and Jake Policio, who was actually another cop. Jake and I were like Ben's 2 right-hand men in this flick. And then not too long after that, Jake suffered a tragic accident. He lost his life. On his 51st birthday, he fell off a balcony. He was not only a good guy, but he was a terrific detective. But
that's awful. Did the other cops, did they break your balls when they see you on TV or in a play or in a movie? Were they razz you or they were proud of you or both?
Both. Some of them gave me a real hard time. To the cops, a lot of them, they thought I was like this flaming liberal because, like I had people that were autistic and actors and then to my acting friends, because I had been a cop, a lot of them think that I was just to the right of Attila the Hun. You know what I mean? So it was, it's a crazy thing. And I'm just kind of like in the middle,
Did you know Arthur Nascarello, or was he on the force at the same time as you?
We were, but I didn't know him. He was out in Queens. He was detective in Queens, and
Arthur's a terrific guy. He's been on our show. He's one of our closest friends, and if you were in trouble and you needed Arthur at 3 a.m, he'd get out of bed. Fucking, he'll run down to help you. Arthur's a beautiful guy,
and he was a good cop too, by the way,
and a good actor.
Yes.
Yeah,
very
good actor.
What was the first movie you ever did, Joe?
The first movie I ever did was a TV movie. It was a sequel for Looking for Mr. Goodbar, and it was called Track Down: Finding the Goodbar Killer. And I played a detective, and it was my first professional job. And I didn't have a big part, but I remember the first scene I had to go in and I had to ring a bell, and I'm looking for witnesses. So I'm doing it, I'm ringing the bell, and I'm talking thing, and finally Bill Persky, who was directing it, is saying, "Hey, kid, I can't see your face." So I had to figure out that I had to turn a little bit so that I could be seen in the frame. That's how I got my start.
Joe, have you ever had to arrest someone you knew, a friend, when you were a cop?
No, I don't think so.
No,
I spent like what?
I'm saying you show up. I mean, not that you knew a guy was there and it's a bust, and then it happens to be a guy you went to school with or something.
No,
sure that
that's
happens.
Never happened to me. It does happen. I did spend more than half of my career in the narcotics division, so I'm glad that never really happened to me. Although I was involved with cases with people who were known by other people. There's a person that the 3 of us know. We don't know him intimately, but we certainly knew who we are. One time I was doing surveillance on a buy, and the undercover goes in, and he's buying cocaine, a couple of ounces, what we used to call weight. And this celebrity comes in to buy cocaine for himself. So the undercover, being smart, says, "Hey, man, I know you. Will you give me your autograph?" So the guy gives him his autograph as he's buying his cocaine. Now that puts him right into the case.
Wow. What a fucking
Can you believe how stupid that guy was?
Either that or he's higher than a fucking kite. One or the other. Yeah. Jesus.
So stuff like that happens.
That's I like that. That would be good for a TV show.
That's quite a story.
And you own, in the theater district, you own a bar now, right? Called Bardo.
Pizza,
Bardo, yeah,
great pizza place. I've been there a couple of times. I love it. It's really good.
Michael was there at the opening party. That was very nice of him to come. We ran into Andy Woke that day, the director, if you recall, Michael. And
Yes.
yeah, so it's a cocktail lounge that serves pizza. That's the way we like to think of it, you know. And like everyone else, we're going through some hard times right now.
The pizza's great, and if you're going to see a show, it's right in the Broadway district. It's a good joint. I love it. I think it's really cool.
What street is it on?
Yeah, it's on 46th Street, right on Restaurant Row. It's 350 West 46th Street.
So
Between
these people,
8th and 9th.
well, listen, 200,000 people from all over the world are listening. You come to New York City, Bordeaux on 46th Street, and you see our friend Mr. Joe Lisi.
And if they mention you guys in the show, we'll take extra good care of them.
What are you going to do to them?
They'll charge them double. That's what happens.
No. We'll give them the Talking Sopranos discount.
There you go.
Okay.
Mention Talking Sopranos. Joe, I love you. I couldn't thank you enough for doing this. You be safe down there, and hopefully we'll come up to see you soon and have a drink, pal.
Great. Thank you, guys. Thanks. And again, great. Congrats on the show.
Thank you very, very much.
Brother. Good
Really,
to see
be
you,
well.
man.
Stay safe. Thank you, Joe.
See you soon.
Thank you.
Oh.
Joe Lisi. There you go. That's a good
Joe Lisi.
story. See, there's a
AKA
guy.
Dick Barone.
You know.
So who do you think it was?
You know who I think it is.
I know who you think it is, but I don't know if it is.
I'm not gonna.
It could be so many people. Let's be honest. It could be.
I'm not going to slander or do that to someone.
It could be so many people.
But it's got to be. He's got to be stupid to sign the autograph, right? What's next? Take a selfie with me? Got three.
Nowadays, that's what you have to do. This was probably in the 80s.
Take a selfie. Pick up the. Hey,
this is probably pre-cell phone days. This is probably in the 80s.
I would say, or maybe the 70s. I got to tell you something. But like you said, Joe was serious. You know, he had a different life like I did, different career. And if you're not serious, it's not going to happen. You might catch a break by mistake, but you ain't sticking around by mistake.
No, he's acted in the London's West End and on Broadway. You have to know what you're doing to do that. You can't just, step out onto the Broadway stage, I mean, you could get somebody who has never acted before. If you're a good director and they have some talent, you can get a decent performance. You can. You have a number of takes. You can have them improv. You can relax them. But, to get on stage in front of a live audience is a different thing.
But what I'm saying is I agree 1,000%, but what I'm saying is if you get that lucky break, as we've seen people in one show, in a movie, first timer, you never see them ever again because they didn't do the work. They thought it came easy the first time. It's going to continue to come easy. I caught a break by being on The Sopranos, though I had been acting for years before.
But you had already been acting. It wasn't just
But I mean, you got to go do the work. You got to take class. No one's a natural. You know when they say that? I'm a natural. I don't need acting lessons. You certainly do. Learn what you're doing. And Joe's a real solid, good guy. There's some people you meet in the business and even not in the business, but you kind of just click immediately. That's what it was when I met Joe. He was just a good guy,
Yeah.
No bullshit. 100%. Let's take a break and we'll get into this episode.
All right.
Here we are. Season 5, episode 8. Marco Polo, you wrote this one.
This is the last one I wrote. This is number 5 out of 5 for
This
me.
was the last one?
Yeah.
And why do you think that is?
Why do I think that is? Because...
I mean, you think your reasoning was unhappy?
Yeah, there's reasons. I don't want to talk about it.
Oh, okay. Wow.
Some things are personal.
Touchy subject.
Not touchy, but listen, I'm not.
Your episodes were great.
I'm not an open book, Steve. You know what I mean? I'm not. I'm not an open book.
You should be.
No, I don't want to be.
but you wrote great episodes.
I think this may be. I mean, the first one is a soft spot because it was the first one, but I think this is my favorite. I mean, a lot of people don't like this episode, but a lot of people do. It's kind of polarizing.
Well,
Some people
I like
hate
it, and I
like.
liked your one when you were in the hospital.
I like this because there's kind of there's like 25 minutes of it that's just the party. So it's like a movie within a movie. And I like working with, getting to write for Suzanne Shepard and Tom Aldrich, those guys. And I like the whole, I think my favorite scene that I wrote for The Sopranos is in this episode is the pool scene with Tony and Carmela for some. It's short, but somehow I just really like it.
I like your writing, even though you've kept me out of some. But
It wasn't deliberate.
But I mean,
Like
honestly,
I said,
if they stopped you from writing because
Nobody
they were
stopped
unhappy,
me.
shame on them.
No, that's
Whoever
not
that
why.
may be.
You're making an assumption and a leap into something that's not true. There's reasons why I couldn't. I'm telling you now.
All right.
I was also the producer on set and worked closely with John Patterson. This is the 12th out of the 13 that he did.
And John was your favorite director on the show.
John's my favorite director. And Steve. John and
Steve
Steve.
Buscemi.
This is one of my favorite episodes. It reminds me a lot of my grandfather, Al. I'll go into why. That's
Who, Dr. Fagoli?
No.
Because Dr. Fagoli is an ass
No,
fucking
my
right.
grandfather, some of the stories and some of this little, I'll go into
All
it.
right.
There's little details that I brought from him. Dr. Fagoli was the name of the guy who gave birth, gave birth to my mother's obstetrician, right? So he delivered me.
I delivered you.
And he was my pediatrician as a kid. So we were coming up with a name, Dr. something, and it just popped in my head, Fagoli. I don't know why. And that's where the name came from. His name was Nick, not Russ. We added Russ to kind of anglicize him a little
Well,
bit.
of course he is. He's a Wonder Bread Wop.
Well, there's now this is true. There's theories. Now, I know you hate all these theories, but this has been there's a lot of this. A lot of people think that Dr. Fagoli is Paulie Walnut's real father because he mentions this guy Russ, who was in the army, who
Who mentions it?
I've seen it on the internet quite a bit.
Michael,
Now, if you do the math, it just about works out.
you're an intelligent man. You're an intelligent
Well,
man.
I don't know.
Why do you
that's
read
relative.
this nonsense? And
Well,
why
it's
do
part
you
of my
believe
business. This podcast is my business. I
But-
got to
but-
know
but-
what
but
the
this
hell's
is-
going on.
This is nonsense. These are guys guys, girls, whatever they are out there, making up stories to irritate people. And it's working because they're irritating me.
I know they're irritating you. I think it's an
This
interesting
is
theory.
hearsay.
I didn't write it with that intention. This is the first appearance of Dr. Fagoli. I will say something that's interesting. We, we did on this show several episodes back. We talked about the offers that were made to different actors to play Fagoli, like Peter Falk and Ben Gazzara.
Yes.
There was a bunch of people. There was talk. David and I, at one point, I came up with the idea. I said, "What if we have Dominic do it, but in disguise? Like we'll put like a goatee and like a hat and dye his beard or something, and he can do a little accent." And for a while, we were really high on this
Playing
idea.
with that?
Yeah. We're like, I remember David said, "Yeah, why can't we just do stuff like that? We should just do it." And we were thinking. Then at one point, we were like, "No, we can't do
Is
that."
this a soap opera? That's a terrible idea. It's a terrible idea.
But we had fun entertaining that idea.
But now you would have loved either Peter Falk or Ben Gazzara. Those are two of your favorite actors.
I don't think they. I don't know. I think they would. Their quotes were too high. John, Bruce Kirby, who plays Dr. Fagoli, passed away this year in January this year.
Yeah.
He had a lot of trouble with this role.
You didn't like him.
I liked him. John couldn't stand him. John Patterson had a lot of trouble with him. Didn't like him. Kept calling him the Great Caruso for some reason. I don't know why.
Why? He didn't like his attitude?
He didn't like what he was bringing. I think he was having trouble remembering stuff.
Well, that's, he's an older
Comes
fella,
with the age.
I mean,
He
his
did
son,
a lot of work on Columbo.
Oh, did he?
He was,
He's Bruno Kirby, who was one of my favorite actors.
Bruno was his son. Bruno
One of my
played
favorite
the young,
actors.
Clemenza.
I never got a chance. He was in some huge movies. The Freshman, working side by side with
Godfather
Marlon
2.
Brando. He was in Good Morning Vietnam. Harry Met Sally. These are just a few.
Yeah.
Godfather 2. I never got to meet Bruno Kirby. I wish I would have. I understand he was a terrific guy.
He died way too.
Oh, very young. And yeah, I don't think I think he was very underrated. I don't think he got the accolades he should.
Very good actor.
You know, and Bruce Kirby worked, but he didn't do a ton of stuff, did he?
He did a lot of stuff. I mean, he did a lot of TV. He did Kojak. He did L.A. Law. He did Columbo. He did a lot of Columbos as like his lieutenant or something like that. He did.
You know what I liked in Kojak that Telly Savalas hired his brother. Was it George?
His brother, George.
Who wasn't an actor at all, you could see, but I just love that. Complete nepotism, and I love every fucking minute of it.
Yeah.
He just said, fuck it, I'm the star of the show. I want to give my brother a job, and that's that.
Yeah. That is pretty cool. I'm all for
like the
nepotism.
Wayans brothers. They hire each other. That's the way it should be.
I guess. If they're talented.
We start out at Little Carmine's new house. Angelo and Jerry visit Carmine.
Q104 on the radio, which I actually did Q104 this morning at 7 o'clock. I did Jim Kerr's show, which I've done a bunch of times. Jim's a friend of ours.
Yeah,
Kenny
they're good people.
Gashow,
I did it
Shelley
Monday. Yeah.
Yeah, and Jim is the first voice you hear in the finale of The Sopranos, the last episode of The Sopranos.
And you've heard Q104 numerous times throughout the series.
Yeah, classic rock.
It's classic rock. It's the number one classic rock station in New York City. Jim Kerr, Shelley
Songstone.
They've been there a long time. They are good people. They've always helped us out and been in our corner. Here we have Gary Pastor, plays Jerry Basile. Gary's a friend of ours. We talked about him. He's done a lot of work.
About his book and his movie.
The Irishman, The Deuce, Shooting Heroin. Good man. Just so he has his book out.
And Joe Santos. This was a mansion in Long Island we shot out at. I think it was owned by a guy who leased school buses to the city, to New York City. Obviously really rich. It was a huge mansion right on the bay there. There were what are those? Jet skis and boats and all that stuff. I think that's where we shot that. I think it was that guy's house. He says the house sang out to us as both Miami and Taormina. Like he's just he loves being this cultured kind of worldly guy, but
he's a zero. Yeah, you could smell the salt.
Taormina is a lovely city in Sicily.
Angelo says you could smell the salt, the painting or the view.
Oh, he calls it the trompe l'oil, which is trompe-l'oeil, is how you, I guess, almost pronounce it in French.
And he gives a whirlpool duet. He gives him a washer and dryer.
And he says, this little bitch is for you. Like he
said, we have the same one. Like it's a big deal. What could that cost? $1,000?
Maybe, if that.
We're going to do great things together. He gives him a washer dryer. It's pretty bizarre.
Well, that's the funny thing about this character, because he likes being this cultured, almost intellectual guy, but now he's playing the role of the gangster boss. He's really not cut out for this by any means.
Soprano house, AJ's room. AJ's playing the drums, that same exact drum beat from,
we go outside to the dock.
Oh.
First, yeah.
Oh, okay.
His son comes running in and says the boat's sinking. So we go outside. We see the life preserver says "My Funny Valentine." His son's wearing a shirt that says Borlotti's Deli. Now that was in the script. I wrote that, and that on the day of he was wearing. That's what when we talk about details on the show. It wasn't like they just had that there. That was in the script. He's wearing a shirt and a hat that says Borlotti's Deli.
And who sank the boat? It was Johnny Sack or Tony. Who had this boat?
Probably Johnny Sack.
Probably
I would say maybe Tony did it for him. David found it very funny with stuff floating in the water. Like, David Chase has a real fun sense of humor, like slapstick sense of humor, like the pillows floating in the cushions floating in the water, like that just
made him laugh.
He loves stuff
and
like
then,
that.
The boat sinks. I just sailed her up here from Miami 3 weeks ago. So there's trouble there, obviously. Soprano House, AJ's room. AJ plays the drums. You was working on the roof, his grandfather. It's the same drum beat. I don't know if it's Big Girls Don't Cry, Walk Like a Man, whatever it is. It's one of them.
He's not very good.
No. And you was on the roof, and then you see him fall.
Which I always find hilarious.
This is like sitcom. This is like a sitcom fall.
It's really funny.
At least AJ had the smarts to help. He went, oh, shit, because he's such a zero mentally. I'm glad at least he went and got somebody.
And I don't remember if it was a dummy or a stuntman.
That fell down?
Yeah.
It looked like a dummy.
It's pretty funny, I have to say.
Very funny. A lot of people work on their roofs, which I don't get, especially when they're older, and they fall.
It's
and they
slippery.
Die, and they break 2 limbs, and they get paralyzed. There's that actor, I think he's the guy from, if I'm not mistaken, the actor from Police Academy movies. I think he fell off his roof and is paralyzed.
Yeah.
I mean, hospital waiting room. Carmela and her mom sit in the waiting room. Mary, after all these years of marriage, you know what you find yourself thinking? Please, God, let me die first. She's very good in this, Suzanne Shepard.
She's great, and she was really happy to do this episode. Like for her and Tom, it kind of meant a lot that they had a big episode, because they love to act.
I don't want to miss him. You're lucky in some way you've been spared that. Maybe we should cancel the party.
The guy in the waiting room. Art Matrano broke his neck falling off a ladder at his house. Who's Art Matrano?
He was in Police Academy, I believe, but he's an actor, a long-time actor.
The guy moaning in pain was something that I saw in the ER once. My son, when he was little, fell down the stairs. We had to go get him stitches. And in the ER there was a kid who this is in downtown Manhattan, right, by the seaport. That hospital over there. A kid had got bitten by an iguana. Another kid had gotten electrocuted. My son had a head wound. And then there was this guy who was moaning, like even that was subdued. This guy was in the ER waiting and just moaning like he was about to drop dead.
And what do you think?
For like 45 minutes
What
an
do you
hour.
think was wrong with him?
I have no idea, but he wouldn't stop. I mean, it was really, really disturbing.
Yeah.
This is like pain, unimaginable pain, and he was just sitting there.
And nobody was...
Well, I guess he checked in and they made him wait. So that's
tough.
kind of a true...
The doctor, very lucky man. Those hedges broke his fall. He'll be some rest. He should be fine. They're happy. Mary is trying to talk Carmela into not having Tony at the party. We don't know it at this point.
Yeah.
What her motive is, but the motive is she thinks Tony is going to embarrass them in front of Dr. fucking Fagoli.
Dr. Fagoli, who worked worked for the Vatican, was assistant to the U.S. ambassador to the Vatican. So she's impressed by this.
Oh, very much impressed.
And she's kind of playing chess moves here, trying to say, well, everybody would understand if Tony's not there. You're separated.
And she's very subtle. She's trying to convince Carmela, but she's not coming right.
No, but I think it's a very wise decision. And Carla says, "What decision?"
Yeah. She doesn't want him there. At this point, we don't know why. We'll see later on. Johnny Sack's house, a Maserati.
Which eventually went to Christopher.
Yeah. I mean,
I went to the Maserati. I had the lesson. He mentions it in this scene. It's based on something that I went to.
You went there because?
Maserati lesson to learn how to drive it.
And what, you wrote it, you drove it in one of the episodes?
Later on, yeah. I went to I wrote that before I went to the school, but I had a lesson. Now, at the time, I just got my license to do the show.
Yeah.
I wasn't driving. And a guy, a Teamster drove me out to Jersey, to Maserati. And we get in the car with the Maserati guy, and we're going to take it on the highway. And I say to him, I don't know how to drive really that well. And he's laughing, I said, no, I'm serious. This is when we're on the Palisades. I said, I have a license, but I really don't know how to drive. And he thought I was just kidding. And he's like, nah, you got to give it some gas. We were going like 135 miles an hour on the Palisades Parkway.
Wow. Not for me. I'm a bad driver as it is.
They gave me a set of driving gloves that I still have.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Johnny, he's a show-off. Pompous show-off. I always wanted this. Tony says you got it in Guinea Gray. They're talking about Phil is not happy. The car is smashed up. Tony says he owes me money.
Phil treats nickels like manhole
covers. Great line.
Which comes from a lawyer that I had. I was suing a landlord, trying to get out of a lease because the place was infested with mice, which would have really messed you up.
No.
And,
I would have moved out.
And they thought I was trying to get out of it because I just had a baby, which wasn't true. I liked the place, but it was infested.
And when you say infested, 10, 20 mice?
A lot. I mean,
30 mice?
Not that many, but I don't know. I don't know how many.
I mean, you
I
put the
saw
light
several.
on and they all ran?
You'd see a couple here and there, but they were there. If you leave an orange out, you come home, you go out, you come home, it's like they're bitten up.
They weren't in your bed or anything?
No, but they were in the bedroom. I saw them run across the fucking bedroom.
I would have moved out. I would have got the shit and moved out. Pack up.
Well, I think we did move out, but we had to get out of the lease.
Yeah.
So we got a bunch of pictures of mice and of damages in the walls where they would shit and eat and all that crap. And he put on a performance, a guy named Stephen Ehrlitz out of Sheepshead Bay. He put on this, he was screaming and yelling, "You guys treat nickels like manhole." He did this performance. The judge got us out of the lease. He shamed the landlord. It was
like
great.
Perry Mason.
He was tremendous.
He's telling him, I need the captain. It's loyal to me. You got to fix Phil's car. He says, all right, I'll go to, I'll go where to my place to get it done.
So I could kind of control it.
Yeah. It tops out at 176 miles per hour. It cost him 99 and change. He's a bragger. He's very pompous. Of course, Phil let the insurance lap, is what they're claiming. I don't believe that.
I liked when Jim gets in the car and it's those things are very low. You kind of sit really low, and he's struggling to get in. Then he asks about
Ginny.
If Ginny's getting in that car.
And Ginny, and he says, "How's Ginny like it?" And he's supposed to answer it because he always gives that bad knee shit. She's got a bad knee. She couldn't fit in that car. And a bad knee because she was a dancer, remember?
She was a dancer.
Johnny always says at Angie's Body Shop, Tony arrived. She's a little nervous because she's doing well here. The shop is rocking and rolling.
And
She don't want Tony to see this.
coming through there, That's part of what's going on.
She don't want Tony to see this, that things are going, well.
And she knows she's going to have to pay for this somehow. Like somehow she's going to get,
Well, that's what they do. Mob guys do that. Every edge, they don't care how much. There was a mob guy, big mob guy in Vegas, and he would borrow, hey, you got $200, playing poker. Hey, could you give me $300? How are you going to get that money back? We're going to go to him. Excuse me, I lent you $300 2 weeks ago. They're going to give you the money back. So he would do that all day long, borrow deuces and $300 from whoever.
There you go.
Hey, they're always a little chiselly.
Well, she knows that if this is going to wind up costing her money, she's not going to be able to get it back. That's what's going on there. Livia's house in the morning. I really like this scene a lot. I like Jim and Edie in this scene. It's a mess.
A mess.
Ready Whip, Burger King wrapper.
God, it's disgusting, Just disgusting.
She brings him the paper, which he usually gets in the driveway. Now she's bringing it to him. He says, "How's your father doing?" And she brings up the party, and he immediately assumes that he's going, right?
Yeah.
And she says, "I want to go out alone." And John does something cool here. There's two singles. A single is a shot of one person. So he's got a single of Jim and a single of Edie, and he's pushing in on both of them, cutting between them. When she starts talking about how I'm going to, if I went out alone, it's best if I don't have you there. Yeah, we know my father's crazy about you and your sausages.
We don't want to make people uncomfortable.
Right. It's a really cool, John does a really good job moving the camera that way and making tension out of this scene. She brings up his sausages. Sausages was a big deal with my grandfather. Like he liked Palumbo's, which where Jim gets the sausage from in this episode, was in Mount Vernon. They used to get sausage from there. I used to bring it up from Fico's on Bleecker Street. From my grandfather.
Fico's.
Yeah, he loved that that sausage that I would bring. But getting it from the right place is a very big deal. You can't, the supermarket usually doesn't make it as good. So that's why
He's got the whipped cream. The girl hasn't been into clean. You should get a new girl. She says, don't forget she's the housekeeper extraordinaire. Carmela. Place is a mess. Maybe we don't want people to feel awkward. He says, well, I wasn't going to go anyway. He lies that right
says,
away.
I decided.
He feels
right
bad.
away.
He feels bad. He says, he tries not to show it. It's for the best, and she leaves. He's pissed off. She throws up he still wants to kick in. She says, I'll use the money. I'd rather you use your money to go to therapy. Yeah. And he snaps at her. Well, you should go. People think you should go to therapy.
All right.
And when he says people, I'm assuming he's saying his kids.
The kids, maybe.
AJ,
I don't know.
Junior's
I'm
house.
Not the only one. I can't afford it. And he snaps there.
Junior's house. Junior's asleep with the TV on. Bobby arrives. He wakes up. Fucking medication. I can't think. Bobby says it doesn't have that side effect.
Well, he's watching La Dolce Vita, Fellini. David is a big, and me, big Fellini fans. David was really very influenced by Fellini. He had a big poster of him in his office at Silver Cup.
Oh, yeah?
David. And this is also refers to my grandfather, because we used to watch on PBS. Sometimes they'd have Italian movies like Seven Beauties, the Lena Wertmuller movie, and we'd watch that together, which he loved watching the movies in Italian.
And
he didn't fall asleep; he understood Italian.
When he talks about it, the dummy, it looks like a dummy that falls out of the plane.
It's a statue. Yeah.
He tells Junior, guess who I saw at the bakery? Of course, Rosalie April said they're having a surprise party for Carmela's father. Did you get an invite? Bacala's breaking balls a little here.
But I like when you say, guess who I saw at the bakery? He says, how the fuck could I know?
Yeah.
He's a bitter guy.
He gets on the phone. No way. We go back to when Moses wore short pants. Famous line in the series. Junior calls you. I want to wish you buona fortuna. It's been my regrets. I'd love to be at your Jubilee, but the federal government says I can't leave the house and my family keeps me sedated. So Junior, who wasn't invited, wasn't going to be invited.
Right.
Carmela does not like Junior.
And he said it's a surprise, but he goes, what are we, children?
Bobby told me it was a surprise party, but I told him in our age, it's enough surprise when we get up in the morning. Junior is just a flat-out miserable prick.
And he's doing this to spoil the surprise. Obviously.
Sure.
He loves it.
And Bobby is going, what are you doing? Bobby's kind of aggravated. Well, what you do this for? Operate, it's an additional 35 cents.
And Junior says, what the fuck? It's over anyhow.
Part of big back room. Tony sits at the desk. Tony B comes in. The airbag thing, it earns good.
Well, you got the faces playing Bad and Ruin at the top, at the exterior, and then it continues. This serves kind of as Tony B's theme song in this episode, because it comes back at the end of the episode. Faces were a great band.
Great song.
Rod Stewart, Ronnie Wood, Ronnie Lane, Kenny Jones, Ian McLaughlin. This is the opening song off their second album, which is a great one.
Just see what's on your plate right now. Come on, it's been a month. I'm a team player, cousin. I'm Charlie Hustle. What should you know who Charlie Hustle was?
Pete Rose.
Pete Rose. Right. Why should I get you? What should I get you, DeAngelis, for his birthday? Well, I decided not to go. Tony's lying once again. In light of situation, I said, I told her I thought it'd be best if I set out. He's saving face, Tony.
And straightened out means get made. He wants to become a made guy. He wants to get more money. Now that he's he's given up his dreams of going legit. He wants to make more money and get made and get the benefits of that.
And Tony's looking at headshots and pictures of, I guess, potential dancers. Is that it? He's looking through a book of
potential dancers,
a bunch of strippers. Pete Rose, I think, is a prick.
You know him?
No, I never met him. But, he signs, or he did before the pandemic, in the Fashion Show Mall. Like once a week, he signs memorabilia. And he would make like $1 million a year. And he would just be at a table in the mall. I've seen it myself. In front of like a memorabilia shop and you come up and he signs they buy the book, they buy baseball. You got to buy it in the thing. He's just not there for anybody. You got to buy the piece. And he was making like $1 million a year. That's how he's making a living. He's a huge gambler. Lives in Vegas. Big, big, big gambler.
Yeah.
There's
Wow.
the debate whether he belongs in the Hall of Fame or not.
Good ball player, though.
A great ball player.
Yeah.
But he bet on baseball. It's a big
Did
no-no.
he get thrown out, or he
Yeah.
retired?
Well, he retired, but bet on baseball. That's a no-no.
And he got caught
Yeah.
while he was still playing? I don't
I
remember
think
the story.
while he was managing, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, he's managing.
Yeah.
That's it.
Angie's Body Shop. Phil and Joe arrived. They look at the car. It's not as brilliant. The new paint, Joe says.
Phil's got the neck brace.
They're
and
breaking balls.
He's also, if you look closely, he's moving his head like he's not. So I'm not sure if we assume that it was written that he was fake or he was just not paying attention to it. But the guy who plays, so we write this character, and I named him Edward Bompensero. His nickname is Duke, named after a cousin of mine who passed away, whose name was Edward, but we called him Duke. Philip LaRocca is the actor. Now, I didn't know he was going to get cast when I wrote it. He looks so much like
Vinny.
my cousin Duke,
Oh, really?
who he was named after. That was the weird thing. When he showed up on set, I was like,
Were you in the casting?
maybe I met him at casting. I may
Wow.
have been, but it was very weird. And he comes out of the back room and he's like, he was taking a nap somewhere. He's kind of rubbing his eyes like he's waking up from
Phil says
sleeping.
he was away, when it all went down with your brother. He said, what happened? He said, we don't like to talk about it. So Phil was away at the time. He doesn't really know what all happened. They kind of do, And they're breaking balls. Something's off with the seat. They're just being ball breakers.
Well, he's got a dent in the back, but it was a front-end collision, so he's looking to get that repaired because he never got it repaired. Some ding from the past. He's saying the paint is duller because he's thinking maybe he could get some custom paint job. And then the seats, nobody said anything about the seats, and he's saying the seats are off kilter because there's something with the grain of the leather that he never liked. Now he's thinking he could get it replaced. And
Now,
saying
if
that it's
you-
off axis.
When you're on the set and you're watching this that you wrote, and if you don't like someone's performance, do you tell them or do you go to John Patterson?
No, I would never tell the actor. You have to tell the
So
director.
you whisper in
The
John's ear.
director should be the only person giving the actor notes. Another actor should never give another actor notes. And, people try to do that. And it's a really-
I did it once.
It's,
Remember in Nicky Deuce? I had to do it.
well, I mean, I don't know. Why'd you
And
do
you
it?
came to me. You came up to me. You said, "What are you directing now?"
Were they not experienced?
Well, I don't think so. He was trying to do a Brooklyn accent, and sometimes trying to do a New York accent is way worse than just doing your own fucking accent.
Well, also that director didn't know how to direct either,
No.
so maybe you needed to step in there.
And
But you're not supposed to give another actor.
I never have. But in this case, the guy said Vincent Hoist. I said, no. He said, I'm from Vincent Hoist. I went, no. And, the thing is about New York City, you have the accent, the New York accent. Those are people that are natives. Those are people that were born here. But there's so many people from other places here. Not everyone talks like me.
No.
Them, those, these, not everyone speaks that way.
No.
You've got people from all over. So, they're trying to do a New York accent, and you could spot it.
Well, they're trying to do what they think is a New
Yes,
York
a
accent
million
from the
miles
movies.
away. I mean, I would never tell another actor. That would be terrible and disrespectful. And I certainly wouldn't listen to another actor. But there are jerk-offs that do it,
Yeah. Oh, yeah. There are.
that think they're smarter or tell you what to do or, hey, look at me, after you say that line, give me a look, Soprano dinner table, Carmela, AJ, Mary, and you, they're eating. Don't forget, you knows about this, and he's saying something, he's eating a nice spear rib. You like Chinese
Chinese
spear
spear
ribs? When you ate meat, did you like
I
ribs?
did, yeah. I did.
And you threw that all away.
Well, I'm a vegetarian now. I'm not a vegetarian because I didn't like the taste. I'm a vegetarian just because
You don't want to kill the pig.
I don't like the killing. Yes, that's why. It has nothing to do with the taste.
Or health.
I like the fact that it's healthy, but it doesn't have much to do with the health either. No, it's
Just
not,
because you don't want to kill a fish or a pig or whatever
or anything or anybody.
or anybody. Even though there probably are some people that could use a good killing here and there. I hate to say it.
Maybe. I mean, listen, I hope I'm never in that position.
Did somebody could you kill someone? Do you think you could kill someone?
You know, I don't know. It depends on the situation.
I could kill someone in self-defense or revenge. Someone hurt my family, I could do it. I
sure,
wouldn't think twice about it.
Well, that's a different situation. You know, if you're put in that situation, it's maybe very hard.
I
Not
wouldn't think twice.
to.
Just so you know.
Self-defense is a whole other story.
Or
you
if
know.
people don't like this
but
podcast.
I'm saying, you know, listen. If I was starving or my kids were starving and it was either eat a hamburger or not or die, I'd probably eat it. But that's certainly not the case.
I know all about it, you says. Junior Soprano told me about it.
Carmela is really pissed off.
She's pissed off, you know, this fucking guy, you know, and they're going round and round, and Dad, Tony isn't coming to the party. Well, I felt that since we're separated, we should use it. Get used to the idea of living separate lives. It's a crock of shit. I love when he says
He's
that.
great in that scene there.
It's his house. How's it going to look? I talked to Tony. He's in agreement with me because you put the screws to him. He knows. Fine, I'll cancel the party. Go
And
ahead.
It's also come out about Dr. Fagoli, and obviously Carmela thinks he's a blowhard, you know, with his
Oh,
they
she's
send a
singing this Russ Fagoli's praises.
5-page Christmas card. Papa Russ shook hands with Andrew
Big deal.
Cuomo.
And then she throws back, oh, it sticks in your craw because his kids finished college.
Right.
Don't forget, Carmela didn't finish Montclair State.
And Carmela throws it back, says that he didn't invite you to his medal ceremony. And she's like, oh, it was in San Francisco. And then she says to AJ, here's someone we can all be proud of. And then Hugh says, yeah, but when we were, you know, young, we called him the governor of Maryland because he had a really bad case of the crabs.
Russ Fagoli's the kind of guy that would hate The Sopranos.
Right.
He's very pompous.
Yes. He would hate The Sopranos.
He is what you call the ultimate Wonder
He's
Bread
probably
wop.
a guy in that.
He's not a regular guy. He's not a neighborhood guy.
No.
He's pompous. He thinks he's
Pretentious.
better than the other Italians. You know, my mother used to always bring up this kid, her friend's son, and would fucking always tell me how great he was. You know, like
He was like Lloyd Braun to you, like
yeah,
you know, like that.
I swear to God. And it was like, you know, this is from when I was a kid. You know, it was her friend's son. And like, you know, the kid I forget his name, Gary, I think. And he was fucking, this kid did this, and this kid did that, and this kid did this, and all this fucking nonsense. They tried to give me his hand-me-down fucking clothes. I'm going to wear this fucking kid's clothes. I wound up going to high school with him. He was a jack-off. And he was a jerk-off by then. Now, my mother, this is all my life. Now, you kind of know the guy. Now, he's just like a fucking asshole in high school. Kind of thought who he was. He wasn't an athlete or, you know, regular guy. He was like a pompous schmuck. And I heard it constantly, how great he was.
Yeah.
Successful. He's probably living in the fucking gutter somewhere.
He may very well be.
I hope he's living in a fucking refrigerator box. That's what I hope.
He's watching you on TV saying, I knew that guy.
Yeah.
When?
They tried to make me wear his fucking
Did you refuse
pants.
on those grounds?
To wear his clothes?
Yeah.
I don't want to fuck his clothes. I mean, we grew up poor, but I don't want that guy's clothes.
You wouldn't wear them, right?
I mean, you got to wear another kid's clothes. How humiliating is that? You go to school, and the kid's saying, yeah, that used to be my shirt last year.
Oh, that's rough.
That would be fucking terrible.
That would be terrible. That's not cool.
So he's right now living downtown.
So was he not a nice guy?
No, he was just a nothing guy. He wasn't a bad guy, but just a nothing. You know, the kind of
So it was your mother's
thought he
fault,
was
not
better.
his.
Yeah, it was my mother's fault.
But you know, in my family, very often when there's a big event and party, there's all that drama around it. Who's coming? Who's not coming? Who's bringing this? So and so can't come. They might be late. You don't know. You know, there's always that big.
Yeah.
You know, which is what's going on here. There's big drama.
That's
put the
why you
screws to
only
him.
invite the people you like.
Now Tony can't come, or she don't want him to come, and he's really pissed off. Hugh and Tony have a really good relationship.
Yeah, and he likes him. He says, I've known the guy over 20 years.
Yeah.
Now you don't want to invite him. It's his house.
Hugh thinks he's a good guy, obviously.
And, and they haven't been separated all that long.
No, they're not divorced. They're not really. She's not with another guy.
No.
Tony's not really with another girl.
That he knows of.
That he knows of. Right. But I'm not saying they're not bringing around new boyfriends and girlfriends. No. And I think, Tom, not Tom, but Hugh, played by Tom, really likes Tony a lot and respects him. Thinks he's a good guy.
Knows him a long time. The Four Seasons restaurant.
They go back to the car first. The back to the body shop.
Tony tells Angie it's her call if you want to be a woman in business. Tony's going to stiff her, like you said. We did all the repairs. She's going to Tony again for help. Yeah. Ange, honey, you want to run a body shop, run a body shop.
And he resents her also because when she went to Carmela and was complaining,
of course,
about the money. And he resents her also because of Pussy. Because Pussy, was a rat, and I think he holds that against her in a way.
Pussy's body shop is one of your stops, right? Well, they're fixing the fucking Shah of Iran's car. Can you be there when he picks it up? He calls Tony B.
But don't let it, make sure he's happy, but don't let it spiral out of control.
Maybe maybe he also thinks Angie may have known Pussy was a rat. There's always that.
That's possible. Probably not.
He might have known that. It's like Madoff. This fucking guy just died, this scumbag. Now, that's a guy that
did his wife know?
I don't want to wish death on anyone. He should have died. But
he did die.
I believe his fucking wife.
He should have died.
I believe she knew. I believe
and
she
why
was
do you
in on
believe
it.
that?
Because I've read a bunch of shit about it. I've seen the interviews. I think she was in on it. And she's living a life of luxury as these people lost their life savings. Their life savings.
She's living a life of luxury based on what?
The feds let her keep like $2 million and jewelry.
Why?
I don't know why. What do I know what that?
Well, there must have been a deal made.
Yeah, well, okay.
So she must have
There
said,
should not have been a deal made. Now, he lost his two sons, one from cancer, which is terrible. The other one committed suicide. He destroyed so many lives. I believe she was in on it.
So you think she should suffer because he destroyed them?
Absolutely. Why should she get $2 million and still live a good life? They were pigs. Pigs.
I don't know. I don't know much about Bernie Madoff. I haven't done the reading you have about it. I know he was a bad guy and robbed people blind, billions. I don't know anything about his wife or his kids. Besides that,
I feel bad for the kids. The wife is living with one of his in-law. One of the daughter-in-laws changed her name, not to be a Madoff, which was a smart move. And she's living with them. So she's living just fine.
That stuff happens all the time, though. That kind of pyramid scheme and Ponzi
not to this
Never
to this
to that
degree.
extent, but that happens a lot.
Imagine you work all your fucking life. I mean,
terrible.
The Will Ponds he fucked so many people. So many people.
Yeah.
Regular people.
I don't know if his wife knew, though.
I think she did. Well, listen, I think she did.
Yeah, I don't know enough about it to chime in either way. Who knows? Maybe.
Fuck her.
It's
fuck
possible.
His wife. What's her name? Whatever the fuck her name is.
I don't know her name.
Okay.
What was his name? Bernie. Then he starts going to Tony B. I'm going over to Welsh Farms to get a triple blueberry sundae, hot summer night, and Tony B's like, why are you telling me this?
Yeah.
What Jimmy, I guess Tony's lonely. He's not with his kids. He's not with his wife. He's not with his girlfriend.
He's not with anyone. He's living in a pigsty in a shitty house. He's pulled out of the mansion. Think about it, out of the mansion. He's living in this shit old house that he grew up in. Tony B meets with Angelo and Rusty. Four Seasons restaurant. Did you do that purposely, I assume?
Of course. It was purposefully done in the Four Seasons restaurant. Now, the Four Seasons is no longer, although it's still there. It's more of an event space now, like the pool room is still there.
Yeah. Have you been there? I've been there.
I've been there. It was at 99 East 52nd Street in the Seagram building.
Really pretentious bullshit place.
Oh, I don't think so.
You're pretentious.
No, but this was
But
a
you're a
classic.
pretentious guy.
Well, listen, it was made by, it's architecturally beautiful. They had Rothkos and Rosenquists, and there was a
I
curtain by
understand, but who
Picasso.
cares? Not everyone cares about that.
I care because it was an iconic New York place.
It was a
very,
New York place, way
special.
overpriced.
Well,
$40 salad, $50
I'm not
salad.
talking about the going there for
It was a
as
scene.
regular.
It's a scene.
Yeah,
you
and
go
as
in,
a-
everyone's whispering, talking. It's like Michael's. That's another restaurant.
But there's something kind of cool about those places that have that kind of allure. I'm not saying, listen, it's very expensive. Is it worth $30 for a Caesar salad? I don't know, but
I'd rather go to a place with the eggplant parmesan sandwich. What's wrong with that?
there's nothing wrong with that. But this place had its merits as something special and unique. Alex von Bitter, who's one of the owners, was married to Jim's cousin. I don't know if you know that.
I did not know that.
Yes. But
They had there was some kind of scandal, sexual harassment scandal
There
involved
was.
here too.
Now but they sold it. It's called the Grill and the Pool now, I guess. The way it opened in 1959, it introduced seasonally changing menus to the U.S. That was its uniqueness in terms of its food.
I ate there a few times. I was, for a meeting. I think with one of my books.
That pool room
and it
was
took me
really
there.
cool. It was
And then
very
I went
beautiful.
to. Did we go to an event? Was there a Soprano event? They had it
Yeah,
there.
yeah. The pool room was really
And
impressive.
what's the actor? There's an English actor, Australian. He was there. He was a pompous fucking
Who?
guy. A really good actor, but a pompous prick. I forget his name. It'll come back to me. I remember we went to an event there. I didn't know if it was an HBO event.
I don't remember.
You need to earn a little. Somebody needs to go. Rainey Caluso.
Yeah, well, Rusty, I thought Frankie was great in this scene. I have to
Yeah,
say.
he's
I really
very
liked
good.
it. He orders Opus 1. He's, it takes him out, whining and dining him. Angelo has him do the honeymooners,
That was cringeworthy.
which
Funny.
was
And he's saying, "Come on, do it," and you got nothing out of Rusty.
Rusty's not laughing
Very
at all.
funny. We were like frickin' frack in the can, and
So he says a friend of a friend, not a friend of ours, meaning not a made guy. He's talking about Joe Peeps. So neither Joe Peeps or Tony B are made. A friend of mine is a distinction. When someone says a friend of mine, that means they're not made, but they're a friend. Someone says a friend of ours, that means a made guy. If you're talking to another mobster, a friend of ours means he's a mobster. If I say it's a friend of mine, you're another mobster, that means he's not with us. He's not a mob guy.
Little Carmine went to high school with Lorraine Caluso. I think he also was schnooping her.
Little Carmine at one
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
They kept saying it's not the boat, it's Lorraine Caluso. They got to get revenge, and their revenge is going to be Joe Peeps.
Rusty's not amused. He says, "I can't sign on right now. I want to give my cousin a benefit of the doubt. He doesn't want us involved in this problem over here anyway. So I don't think so. Bye. Thanks, guys." They offer him to earn a little bit. And, he says no. Soprano bedroom. Carmela calls Tony.
Tony's got porno videos on the windowsill or on the counter there.
Oh, does he? I didn't see them.
Yeah.
Did you write that in?
I don't remember, but I noticed it when I watched it this morning.
We had a big talk over here about the other day. Consensus seems to want your presence at my father's party. He makes up a story. I plan to go fishing with Sil. Well, he really wants you there. He's very fond of you. I'll see what I can do. Tony, deep down, is happy he's going. Carmela's going to be doing the cooking. Artie is there as a guest, but he's doing the appetizers and salads. But he's there as a
He's there
guest.
as a guest. He's still got to do appetizer salad. And she says, it's a living hell. It's a madhouse. My life is a living hell. Like getting ready for this party is a living hell to come out.
It is a big undertaking to cook for all those
It's
people.
huge, and she's got to do everything. And the next scene really starts the day of the party, and it's I guess like 25 minutes from now till then. It's pretty much just the party. The cake has a Knights of Columbus symbol on it, which Hugh belongs
It's a nice
to.
cake, beautiful cake. Tony B comes early. and he rides with the twins, right? I mean, he says, "I'm here to help." That's not
Nobody's
real.
there to help. And
No.
they're just getting in her way.
And you know who used to come to every party way too early?
It's Sirico.
Every event. If the thing was for 8:00, he was there at 7:30. I remember Johnny V had a Christmas party, and at his townhouse, and Tony got there way early. They still, I think, Johnny's ex-wife still was in the shower. And he's knocking on the door. I mean, it's terrible. And knocking on the door, and he's in there and he wants wine.
And he's in the suit,
scrambling.
and he's all dressed
He's
up.
in the suit. Johnny didn't have a door on the bathroom because he was fixing up the house. There was no door on the bathroom. So when Tony had to go take a piss, he had his right-hand man, Mike Sullivan, there to stand in front of the door so nobody came in. Swear to God. Swear to God. And Aida came in, and there was a bunch of us. It was a terrific party, but he would always show up too early.
But even at events, he did that too. Yeah, like when we had HBO events or Soprano events.
And he
in the city.
would drink Pinot Grigio Santa Margarita. That was his drink. White wine only, never liquor.
Or Chardonnay sometimes. If they didn't have the Santa
Yeah, but he
Margarita.
wanted that Santa
And he
Margarita.
liked ice cubes on the side, and he'd put
Yeah.
a couple in here.
But
and there.
he came in early. He wore the suit. It was very funny. And Mike, gotta go. He would snap the fingers. Let's go. And Tony would go pee, and Mike would stand out front, so nobody came in. Soprano Kitchen. Carmelo's getting things ready. Tony B arrives with the twins, who are they're kind of little terrors, these two kids.
Yeah, they start throwing
stuff
shit in the
pool.
Carmelo's really stressed. He says, "I'll go to the Grand Union for you." Grand Union's been out of business. He said, I make a mean rusty nail. Have you ever had a rusty nail?
No.
It's scotch with Drambuie. Drambuie is like a liqueur with honey and whiskey.
I can't drink any dark liquor.
Dark liquor.
I mean, I'm a vodka guy.
There's also a rusty bob, which is
Tequila.
with bourbon, a rusty ale, which is beer and Drambuie, and a clavo ahumado, which is Drambuie with mezcal.
Did you used to drink that?
I'm not into these.
But when you were drinking, you would drink, when you were drinking what? You would drink Heineken's, you would drink vodka, and then you also...
Wine.
Red wine.
Red wine.
And Jim Gandolfini used to drink white wine and then get into vodka.
He likes scotch, too.
Yeah. But, then I was always, at the time, I was drinking...
Tequila.
Tequila. I would drink Patron, chilled and up in a martini glass.
With a beer chaser.
Beer back. Right? You, though, I saw down the red carpet, it had to be 105 degrees in L.A. You were drinking Hennessy.
Oh, yeah.
Or Remy.
For a while, I drank a lot of cognac. Yeah.
And you had the snifter. You had your sunglasses on.
Where? On the red carpet? I had a snifter?
Right before the red carpet at the Peninsula.
Oh, yeah, sure.
God damn. I said 2:00. We got a long night ahead of us. I mean, I would start later. I couldn't hang like that.
No, yeah. Those were the days, my friend.
We were, the Soprano cast and crew were a hard partying group. And I was a happy member in good standing.
Yes, you were. You were.
I was very much a member in good standing.
Well, the Rusty Nail, the Rat Pack loved the Rusty Nail. It was a favored drink among the Rat Pack, and it was apparently got really popular through the 21 Club, which is that another restaurant you hate because it's a scene and
it's a phony, yeah. $438 hamburger. We talked about this.
But it's a great New York institution.
Bullshit.
They shot Sweet Smell of Success in that place.
I understand that.
History. There's something unique about
listen,
that.
you could still go, but it's bullshit.
You don't go there just for the food. You go there for the experience. You go there for the vibe. You're paying.
You like going
you're
in
not paying.
Do you have your picture on the wall there?
I went there for Blue Bloods. I shot a scene with Tom Selleck there. It was the first time I was ever there. I'm saying, you don't go there because you want to buy a hamburger for $38. You go there to experience something. Is it expensive? Yeah, it's a special occasion. It's a treat. It's it's doing something special. It's not. You don't always go for the food just to have a meal.
Listen.
If it's a weeknight, you want to go out to dinner with your wife and grab a quick meal. You're not going to go there and spend $500. You're going to go to the place in your neighborhood or something. I get that. I'm not saying it's better than that. I'm just saying it has its own merits.
Carmella, alrighty then.
God damn it! Don't you understand what I'm saying?
Alrighty then.
The 21 Club, 4 seasons.
Okay. Meadow comes in. She wants to make a maple icebox cakes.
Meadow's a pain in the ass.
That's not the time to do it. I mean, Carmella's running around like a chicken without a head. She's going to come in looking for pans.
Right.
Finn is there. Finn asks Carmella for a towel.
She also said, AJ, she says, I asked you to get up at 11, which means it's probably 12 and he's just getting up. She needs help. You were supposed to send this thing for summer school. The kids are just...
And then Tony B leaves the kids. Here comes you and Mary. Comes 3 hours early,
right?
And he brings the Portovac, right. Which is like, what the fuck?
Which she doesn't need now.
What do you now? That's not what she needs. Tony B leaves the kids there and goes, and they need to be watched. So she's scrambling.
So she's scrambling, and you notice that he has Feature's Cadillac. Tony B. He got that out of the Feature deal. Also important in that scene, Tony B looking at Meadow. Thinking about his own daughter, as the daughter lived with them with the Sopranos.
They had
when she was 11 or 12 years old. Yeah.
Back to the body shop. Tony B arrives. He's trying to smooth things over. Phil and Joe have problems with the car. Angie, replacing the seat will cost a fortune. Give me a break, Phil. Jesus, God, Duke, they're hosing us for $2,000 factory seat.
And Tony B knows it, and he looks at Joe Peep, and Joe Peep they have an exchange. They're like, this guy.
Moment. This is the first time they met.
It's the first time they met, and they both look at each other going, obviously, Phil Leotardo's being a prick and just wants something out of here, and wants to screw Tony somehow because he hates him. He looks at Joe Peeps. You got an eye problem? You're rolling your eyes like Stevie Wonder, which makes no sense because you don't really see Stevie Wonder's eyes, do you? He always wears sunglasses, no?
Yeah, I don't think so. I think Andrea Bocelli, Ruth Madoff.
What?
It's Ruth Madoff. It just came to me.
Oh, we're going back to that?
It just came to me.
The Ruth Madoff?
She probably used to eat at the fucking Four Seasons.
With other people's money.
With other people's motherfucking money.
Now it gives you even more of a reason to hate those places.
Yeah. Now,
that's why you hate those places.
Well, listen, Nobu is an expensive restaurant, and I think it's fantastic. I go there quite often.
So why is that okay?
Because there's food there that you can't get anywhere else. It's not pretentious to me. It's just a nice atmosphere. It's nobody fucking celebrity bullshit.
Yeah, but some people like to see celebrities.
And that's De Niro's place, and I still go there because of our friend Drew.
Some people like going to places that have a long history and
And some people like to go to places to be seen. They think they're on the fucking,
So you think something's wrong with that? You're against that?
Well, I think you're doing it for the wrong reason. I think you're full of shit.
But some people like that reason.
Yeah, well, how about this? You like to go to Nello's where they charge you $27 for a vodka rocks. $27 fucking dollars.
But it's not always about the money, Steve.
So why do you go to Nello's for a $27 glass?
You go to experience a certain slice of life. Now, I went to Nello's once in my life with Vince.
$60 dish of pasta.
And it was I wouldn't make a habit of going there, but there's something entertaining about it.
You never took me there.
I didn't take Vince there. We went together.
Who picked up the check?
I don't remember. It was like fucking 12 years ago. I remember who picked up the check.
I would think you would.
I mean, I haven't gone every place with you either. I can't go somewhere if you're not there. What the hell is this? Listen, a lot of those places, they're ridiculously expensive. I mean, what I'm saying is there's, as a treat, if you have the money to experience something that has this history, in New York, it's kind of has its own thing and its own vibe. Sometimes it's worth experiencing it if you're into that. If you're not and you can't afford it,
I could afford it. I could. What do you?
I
I
know.
could afford it.
I'm not talking to you.
I've done just fine.
I'm not talking about you.
I might
I'm
not
talking
have
about the listeners.
I may
who
not
might never
have
go to
Michael
a place like
Imperioli
that.
money, but I've done just fucking fine.
That's not what I'm talking about.
The party's in full swing.
You go to Nobu like a lot, don't you?
Not
you
a
go,
lot,
you know,
lot.
several nights a week, aren't
No,
you
I
there?
don't. That's
Shit.
bullshit. That's bullshit. I go a special occasion.
There you go. And that's not cheap,
It's not cheap.
but it's a great place. I love Nobu too. I mean, I love Drew. I love Tribeca Grill.
I like Tribeca Grill.
That's a
And
nice
we're gonna
place.
go. Where we gonna go after this?
Forlini's,
Fellini's. We're gonna have dinner.
Baxter Street.
We're gonna. Jeff Sussman is with us. Our executive producer.
Rumor has it he's gonna make an appearance.
And
here.
you only
I don't
met.
know.
And you only met him once.
I only met him once,
He's like the Wizard of Oz. This fucking guy.
but he's gonna join us for dinner.
For a while, I didn't know if he existed.
Well, you knew him before me.
No, I know him for 25 years or more. We went to the Knick game. He's a terrific guy. One of the few people in show business is a man of his fucking word. No bullshit there. And there's not many.
Really, I found a lot that I trust their word. A lot
Really?
of people. I've made a lot of good friends in show business.
And how about pricks that stabbed you in the back or wouldn't hire you?
There's lots of that, but there's lots of good people.
Yeah, there's a lot of good people. I made it. Listen, I got a lot of good friends in show
Depends if
business.
you could see the glass half full, half empty.
Well, I'm a half-empty guy. But I've made plenty of good friends, especially other actors.
A lot of good friends
Cast
who
of
are
The
actors.
Sopranos, some of them are my closest friends. Cast of Blue Bloods, great. I made great friends on every show I've worked on. You know.
Yeah, we make friends, we make enemies. You know.
There you go. That's just the way. That's the way of the world, my good pal. So Dr. Fagoli, he's a pompous fucking guy.
And he's pompous. You got the scotch. He's pouring scotch with the old guys. Freddie Genovi is Hugh's buddy, played by Frank Ammirati. He was in the movie The Death Collector, which came out in 1976. De Niro saw The Death Collector, and it starred Joe Pesci and
Frank Vincent.
and he told Scorsese, "You got to meet these guys for Raging Bull," and that's how that whole thing happened through this movie, The Death Collector, which Frank Ammirati, who plays Freddie DeNovo, was in.
Mary's kissing Fagoli's ass.
And he's allergic to tomatoes.
Yeah.
And she's flipping out.
Yeah.
We got to have something.
Don't you have any appetizers without tomatoes? She says that to Artie. Father Phil, the freeloader of the century. This cat is the freeloader of the century. Says it's a shame you can't eat tomatoes.
He's the freeloader of the century. Is that what you?
Freeloader of the century. Fagoli, it happened after the radiation.
All right, for prostate.
Okay. Mary, she says, Mary, the Sopranos skeeved butter. They didn't like Northern cooking.
Yeah, and here we're into that argument about the North. Well, Marco Polo, which is the name of the episode, they play the game in the pool at the end, but Marco Polo was a Northern Italian. He was from Venice. And this is that rivalry between the North and the South, although they're all Southern Italians, but they have an affinity for the North, but a lot of Southerners don't. And she talks about that whole Soprano bunch over there. They hate, and then she goes, well, you really have to go to Italy to know.
Yeah.
And so many don't. And it turns out she was probably there for 2 weeks. And that's
Exactly.
it.
He says he ate up and down the boot, says. And she thanks Fagoli's wife for sending her all those recipes from Tuscany.
Right. They have bolito misto and asabuco. Bolito misto is like it means mixed boil, like a boiled beef, veal, sausage.
And what's his name?
Basically, she thinks of Tony as a gavone. A gavone we know means like a common person, like a crude person.
Tony comes in with the sausage around his neck. She's appalled by that Dr. Fagoli is going to see all this,
Yeah. Well, and Tony B is filming. Carmela wants him to be like the documentarian of the day. She's starting to order him around and get the guests arriving.
Let me tell you, at my wedding, I don't know if I've ever even told you this story. At my wedding, I got married in 1989.
1989.
I got married at the Riviera Hotel, the top of the Riv. Okay, it was April 22nd, 1989. It was the ball. I had like 200 people at the wedding. It was a really nice wedding.
Did a lot of people fly in from New York?
Yeah, a lot of my friends that I grew up with, yeah. But there was also the president of the hotel and people. And Jerry Vale was at my wedding.
Did he sing?
No, he didn't sing. He was
Who performed?
He also didn't give me a gift, but no.
He didn't give you a gift?
No, he wasn't invited. He was a guest of someone.
Oh, okay.
No.
Who
I'm
performed?
joking there. It was just a band, a guy named Lenny Souza. It was a great band. They used to have a famous group in the 70s and 60s, Stark Naked and the Car Thieves. They played all over the Strip.
They were good?
Flamingo, they were very good, and this Lenny put it together. So, we got the wedding, it was great. We did it in church. Wedding's going on. Well, downstairs, I used to run the comedy club.
Right.
And
A show,
the female impersonator show.
the lounge?
Lacage.
Did you run the lounge?
The
too?
lounge also. And then there's Crazy Girls.
So you had to constantly book all these places. That's a lot of work.
It's a lot of work. My budget in the lounge alone was like $2 million.
For the year.
Yeah. A lot of money. There's 7 nights a week something going
Were you
on.
working 7 nights a week sometimes?
No. If there was big events. But, so, who comes in? Now, Laura's cousin is the unofficial, he's from Texas. He's the unofficial video guy. We didn't hire one like they do now.
Right.
We had a photographer, but he was taking the video. Okay. Here come the Crazy Girls between shows. There's about 4 of them come
Crazy
up.
Girls are strippers.
It's a
Burlesque
topless
performers?
show. Yeah, topless show. They come up. They got a big box. They come up between shows. They have white outfits on, see-through, and you see everything. Okay? Everything. They got bushes. This is 1989. Black bushes, the 4 of them. 4 or 5. They got a big box. My wife says, she whispers in my ear, Laura, who the fuck invited them up here? And because they kind of made a commotion,
That'll do it.
And I said,
make a
well,
commotion.
I said, they brought us a gift. What? I didn't, they were being nice. They were friends of mine.
You didn't order this.
No, they were
just
friends of
showed
mine. So, it was a fleeting moment there, but you see everything completely see-through. All right. 2 weeks later, we get the video. The fucking cousin was on them for a half an hour, whatever they stayed. He had them, he was zooming in on the bushes.
Oh, my God.
He was zooming in on them, and then I got to hear it all over again. What the
Oh, my God.
What the fuck was this guy doing? There you go.
You should have hired
I should have hired someone there.
Tony walks in, if you notice, Carmela, there's a slight smile when he walks in. She could and she plays it very subtly, but it is there. Like you see that there's some happiness that he's there.
Tony mentions about being a doctor. Somebody usually goes down at one of these.
Right.
Drinks too much, whatever. And he's just a doctor, like Kissinger.
Right.
It's just that doctor. They like to throw that around.
And Mary's mortified when he walks in with the sausage and he's singing about meatballs, and
Very
she's
embarrassed.
she is just mortified.
They're snooty fucking Wonder Bread wops. Russ had an audience with the Pope, 4 popes. Tony says, what section did you sit in? Give him a little zinger there. Mary doesn't like it. Fagoli is just a pompous prick. Did you write him with someone in mind, someone that acts like him?
No.
Have you met Dr. Fagoli types?
Sure. Absolutely. Yeah. Have you?
Sure.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it was, this also goes back to that whole the Italian American Anti-Defamation.
So he would hate this.
He would hate the Sopranos, and we were, because we heard shit from people like that, and this was our way of kind of sticking it up their ass.
I find very pompous are a lot of people in
politics,
academia. You know,
Academia, yeah, sure.
a lot of that goes on.
There's a lot of that.
You know, they really think,
Politics too.
yeah, they really think who the fuck they are.
Yeah.
You know.
Politics, you see it very much. You know,
You know.
And you're right. In academia, 100%. That's true. Yeah, he's a snob.
Tony B's getting drunk. He's taking videos. Carmela's bossing him around a little bit. He's taking a video of Tony's stomach and Carmela's ass, kind of like my wife's cousin.
Yeah.
You know, he's taking that for later on.
Well, she wants it. Now she makes a toast to her father, and Hugh gets very emotional, and he plays that scene great. Tom Aldridge.
Oh, he's
I love him in there. And she goes, "Let's do the gifts," and she doesn't want to do the gifts, Mary. She thinks it's tacky.
Well, I think it is too.
But Tony gives his gift, which is a Beretta 12-gauge shotgun, Jubileo, custom made, engraved and stuff. I went to, when I was writing this, to the showroom. The Beretta showroom's on 67th and Madison Avenue. It's like a jewelry store. I mean,
Oh, yeah?
the stuff they have there is really incredible and beautiful. And that company it's still in the same family, 500 years. The Beretta family. It was opened it's from Brescia, which is the Lombardia region of Italy.
Did they buy that? Did they buy that, or they just rented it?
I think we rented it. It's the oldest firearm company in the world. This is kind of a weird quote, but they've made weapons for every major European war since 1650. It's still a family business. That gun today, now they don't make that model anymore, but you could buy it for about 10 grand now. But then I think it was probably between 5 and 7, that model.
It's a lot of money.
It's gorgeous,
I had a
though.
Beretta. When I had
A pistol, though.
I had a pistol in Vegas.
A lot of the Army officers, sidearm was Berettas. They used,
When I lived in Vegas, I had guns. I'm a terrible gun guy. I told you that story. I shot when I moved to Hawaii. I brought a 22 with me, and I was in the elevator, and I was I don't know what the fuck I was doing, but I shot. The gun went off, and it put a hole in my jeans and burned my leg. Not terrible. So there was that one.
The bullet didn't hit you.
No,
You're
it
lucky.
grazed it. Very lucky. It was in the elevator. I was in the elevator alone in my apartment building. Then I had a Beretta. I went to the shooting range, and then out in the desert. I was terrible with the guns. But you could buy it at the time, literally with a driver's license. Go to the store and buy a gun.
No background check.
This was nothing back then when I was living there.
You walk in.
Literally, here you go. I'd like to buy that gun. Okay. Now I think there's 3-day cooling off or whatever. Also, in Vegas, I assume it's still that way. As long as it's not concealed, you can wear it in a holster like a cowboy.
Yeah, well, there's quite a few places in the country.
I went to get my oil change, and there was a guy walking around with a gun in a holster.
Yeah, there's a lot of that. Texas.
And then I was so bad, and this is why I got rid of the guns. It got stuck and it jammed, and I was in my laundry room because I kept it out of the way, and I shot my washing machine. A fucking huge hole, Michael, I swear. This big. It wasn't with the Beretta.
What would you grabbed it or something?
No, I had the thing, and I had it. I kept it unloaded because the kids, and I had it up top, and then I loaded it and to see. I don't know what the fuck I did, but it was the size of a $50 in the washing machine. And the washing machine,
was a 22 as well.
And the washing machine still
worked.
It still worked.
Was that a 20?
No, that was a 44.
Yeah, that's a dangerous.
I had like 3 guns.
A big giant gun.
And I was terrible, and that's when I got rid of them.
Well, and then what also is important in this scene is we cut to the Blundettos, because Joanne Moltisanti, Christopher's mother, is a Blundetto, as we know. She's Tony B's cousin. And Ray Allen, who plays the mother, Tony B's mother, they're drinking, and they're like, it's nice to have money. So Tony B's getting jealous. He's resentful. He's being bossed around. He already kind of misses his daughter. He feels he missed having this kind of life, and maybe he could have. And he's jealous, and he's bitter, and now he's resentful, and he's drinking.
And he also asked Carmela earlier on about how long she's been in the house.
Right.
He's got the house, the pool. He's got nothing, this guy.
He's got nothing. And Carmela's kind of, she remember what she did to Charmaine that time at the party, that little wave. It's a little bit of that attitude there.
You was drunk. You got fucked up. I've carried you like that many a night.
Like that. Not many a night.
You was
Well, a big thing that happens is with the gun, when he says, Dr. Fagoli says, the best pieces, they never export.
and it's also in front of a lot of people, and they all get it.
And Tony walks right away. Now, my grandfather always said that about Italian wine, which I don't even know how true it is, but that's what he always used to say. He always said, the best wine, they don't ever export. They keep all the good stuff there, which I'm not sure. It was true, but he always said that. That's where that line came from. But here it's a different context, and it's an insult.
Very much so, and they all hear it. It's not just Tony here. It's very condescending. Meadow is talking politics, civil rights with Tony B. She's wise beyond her years. And Tony Soprano says she better be all the money I'm spending over at Liberal University in sunny Harlem, meaning Columbia.
Yeah.
Meadow sits on Tony's lap.
And that's a nice moment. It's also, Carmela looks over and sees that. Also, that little moment when Tony is cooking and Carmela comes over and gets a beer for him.
Yeah.
And she's tipsy. Edie plays it great. Yeah. Little tipsy. And you see her looking at him. She's falling in love with him again. She appreciates him coming over, buying a beautiful gift, making her father happy. And she realizes, despite a lot of his faults, he is a good guy in a lot of ways. And seeing him with his daughter again, she starts to soften towards him, obviously.
You gets drunk. They carry him out to the car. Mary apologizes to the Fagolis.
She apologizes. I'm sorry for everything, she says. Hugh's getting put in the car. He calls Mary Virginia Mayo, who was a big movie star in the 40s.
Yeah.
A lot of Danny Kaye's movies. She was in a movie with Milton Berle, Always Leave Them Laughing.
I'm sure he banged her. Think he banged Virginia Mayo? I'm sure.
I don't know.
He's irresistible, man.
I guess that's what we hear. I'm sorry for everything. And he's like, sorry for what? And she's like, oh, the off-colored jokes, this twirling the sausage. These are cultured Italians. He was a diplomat. He must be in shock.
Jesus Christ. That's why you didn't want Tony here. It had nothing to do with the marital situation. Whatever we are, I'm proud of it. Your secret is out. We look like Gavones.
He makes us all look like Gavones.
And Tony tells Tony B he has to tighten his belt because of the divorce. Tony B doesn't like it. He's not buying it. Look at this party. Look what they got. Look at this house. His daughter's in Colombia. That costs big money.
He's very resentful at this point. Yeah.
And kind of, and then Chris and Adriana walk his mom out, and she says, I didn't have a drop.
And that's not true. We know.
Soprano pool at night. Artie?
Yeah, I love this vibe, the night, and the people are a little drunk. They're a little tired. They're in the pool. It's hot out. It's a very kind of,
Carmela's cleaning
summer
up.
night.
Tony and AJ throw Carmela in the pool. She's had a few drinks in her. Aunt Quinn's house. Tony B and Aunt Quintina put the twins to bed, and they stole the pins from the '96 Olympics in Atlanta,
which AJ got to go to with Tony.
You stole this from your cousin who opens his house to you? I found it on the floor in the back of AJ's closet. He doesn't even know what he has. It's like a kid, they have too much, and these kids don't have anything.
And they love the house, and they love the pool, and they're in this,
And he says that's when you were stationed in Saudi Arabia, so that's the story they told these kids.
That's the story.
Soprano pool. Devin and AJ get out of the pool. Artie's sleeping.
This might be my favorite scene that I got to write for the show. Just the moment there with the two of them. And John shot it great. There's some underwater shots where it's completely silent. As the cameraman was in the water, kind of like face level with them, to create that intimacy. John did a really good job with it. And their acting is, they've been estranged, and just, they come back and, reconcile and have sex here in the pool. I thought they did such a great job.
Sex in the pool or sex in the shower is way overrated.
I agree.
Right?
But on camera, on film,
Yeah.
It looks awesome.
I'm saying in real life.
In real life, but on film, it looks awesome.
Soprano pool in the morning. Johnny V, hilarious as ever. When he wakes up, he doesn't know his
He
surroundings.
doesn't know where he is. He's got the turban.
I've seen that before.
You've seen that. Yeah, I've seen it. I've been there, believe me. Myself. I've been
Aunt Quintina's kitchen. Tony B calls Rusty. I'm in. After seeing
He's
all
had
this
enough.
last night, he's had enough. He's tired of being broke.
Yeah.
Carmela, Soprano bedroom. Tony leaves. Carmela sleeps.
And we go to the brothel, which is run by the New York family. And
You never been to a brothel, right?
how do you know?
I was a question.
But it wasn't a question. It was a
Okay, have you ever been to a brothel?
yeah. Have I been?
Yeah.
That's a question. What you just asked. I may have been.
Okay. So you didn't give me an answer. You just
I may have been. I did research for this episode, and
So you went
and
to-
saw the inside of a brothel that somebody.
I was just
You know
research.
Well, they knew we were doing the show,
Where
and
was
they
it at?
agreed to let us. It was
was
in
it at?
Midtown. They agreed to let us take pictures there.
And what was it? Little cubicles with
No,
little beds.
it was not little cubicles. It was an apartment.
Oh, so it's a high
It
class.
wasn't a dump.
It wasn't
And
like
there was a guy that looked very much like the guy who played Vic Martino plays Muzzy Nardo, who's the pimp basically running the thing. Guy looked very much like that guy, and he was kind of holding court. They weren't open. They weren't going to let us in there when there were customers there, obviously, but they just showed us what it looked like. Erin Stutland plays Heather, the prostitute that Joe Peeps just sleeps with and then gives a ride home. She was on the Chappelle Show, Mad Men, Sex and the City. Does a really good job with a tiny little part here, but very important. Bon Jovi's playing Wanted Dead or Alive, which is a little, I guess,
unfortunately,
foreshadowing.
she just gets caught in the crossfire. He's giving her a ride home.
Yeah, and that was shot, that was built. The brothel was built on the stage, but the exteriors, I think it was East 93rd Street around 2nd Avenue, Manhattan. It was a Friday night, it was late. It was kind of tricky because you're not really allowed to shoot guns on the streets of the city because people get scared and think it's real shots. So they have those non-gun things which have very, very little sound, and they loop it in at the end. But still, it was a big thing to do in the street in Manhattan late at night.
It's a good scene.
The Faces Come Back, the song Bad and Ruin, again. I love the shot. Now, so Tony B gets out of the car. You see his feet. He stomps out the cigarette. And then it's one shot from his point of view, moving in on a dolly, going right into the car. Joe Peeps looks out, sees Tony B. It all happens in one shot until he starts firing. It's a great camera work. Really cool shot. Creates a lot of tension. John did a great job in that. And then the car's moving because it was already started. And then it runs over his foot. And his arm is still in. He's still trying to shoot. And the irony here, right? The whole reason why they wanted to kill Joe Peeps because he killed Lorraine. And they're like, killing a woman. Can you imagine? And what happens here?
You wrote a good episode. I'm sorry this was your last episode.
Yeah, it was a good one.
And you don't want to say why? Did they call you in? And
I'm not going to say.
Michael, it's better if you're not here anymore.
No, I don't want to go into. It's nothing like that, but it's just I don't want to go into it.
All right.
Like I said, I'm not an open book, Steve.
Well, I'm not an open book. They don't know everything about me.
Book. You're an open book.
I don't give a fuck anymore. What's Junior's line? It's all over anyway.
All over anyway.
That's it. That's what I think. It's all fucking over anyway. Now it's time for the Talking Sopranos Ask Me Anything segment. The winner of our AMA best question is Justin from Greenfield, Wisconsin. We're sending Justin a pair of Bose headphones.
Justin asks, guys, I love The Sopranos. I've watched start to finish at least 5 times. That's way more than I have. My question is, why do you think David Chase made Anthony Jr.'s character so soft when it came to getting in the family business instead of going the route of having him follow in Tony's footsteps? Thanks, guys. Stay safe. Justin Cancilla or Cancilla. Well, it's a good question. I think one of the reasons is the show, in a lot of ways, is about the American dream and kind of the failure of the American dream and consumerism and rising up the ladder and having dreams of success and how a lot of that's illusion and bullshit. And so AJ as a symbol of how this success kind of spoils the next generation in a way. That now Tony's father, they had to kind of work when they were young. Johnny Soprano had to make his bones and bust his ass, and he was a criminal, but it wasn't just this life of in the lap of luxury and everything coming easy. And Tony Soprano, I guess, had the same thing, although now he has a lot of money, but AJ grew up with every need tended to, with a mother who doted on him. He doesn't really have to have a job, as a teenager and all those things.
I think it makes it much more interesting.
I agree. 100%.
The old, listen, I believe, not all, but I think most mob guys don't want their son in the family business.
Because of the dangers.
Yeah, they know what it is. They know what it's about. Just like in The Godfather. They wanted Michael to be one of the judges and the politicians.
Especially nowadays, and The Godfather was before Rico. Now, after that, it's like you're doing racketeering, anything involved in the mob, you're going to go away for 15 years, or you're going to get killed.
Yeah, I think most mobsters would prefer not to have their kids. Some maybe that's all they could do.
Because it's not an easy life.
To me, it would be a terrible
You're
life.
Always looking over your shoulder, right?
Too much headache.
For the cops or for...
Pressure to earn, to find new schemes, to get new people, new ways into making money, get more people on your payroll. Tough, very tough. I mean, I don't know. Nowadays with DNA, recording devices,
Rico,
technology, Rico, I mean, it's tough.
It's really tough, and it's you want your kids to have a safe life, an easy life, and you want them to have something. We're not going to be looking over their shoulder every day. Is somebody trying to kill me? Somebody try to arrest me? So it does make it more interesting, and I do also think there's an element of David Chase making a certain statement about the difference in the generations. And how success and how rising up the ladder and assimilating, how that affected the generations and stuff like that. I think so.
And physically, he doesn't look like a mobster to me.
No, I mean, Tony Soprano's he's not like his father in a lot of ways.
No, that's for sure.
Which does make it more interesting, I think. I mean, if his son was like a little Jim, kind of a big husky guy like that, it would be very, very, very different, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Different. Good question, Justin. Good question. Very good. We're sending Justin a pair of Bose headphones. Thank you very much. From Greenfield, Wisconsin. Have you ever been? I've never been to Wisconsin.
I've been to Green Bay. I did an appearance in Green Bay at a casino, which was a Native American reservation.
I've never been. I want to go to Milwaukee for my friend Paul Bartolotto. He's got all his restaurants, and I'd like to go out there. That's one place. Catch a Milwaukee Brewers game. That would be good.
Yeah.
Thanks for listening. Remember, new episodes are released every Monday. Please subscribe to the Talking Sopranos podcast, YouTube, Apple Music, Spotify, Amazon, or wherever you get your podcasts. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram, and like us on Facebook. And right now, you can get official Talking Sopranos merchandise on TalkingSopranos.com or through our YouTube channel. We've got all kinds of new merchandise, tank tops, T-shirts, Steve Schirripa motherfucks the world, coffee mugs.
We say these things as if they're normal, but we actually have for sale to our fans a coffee mug that says Steve Schirripa motherfucks the world. That's what's evolved out of this podcast. You know, this is what we're going to leave behind. This is going to be the legacy of this podcast. Our executive producer is Jeff Sussman, who happens to be in the studio right now.
Incredible. The Wizard of Oz.
Our producer is Andy Verderam. Music was composed and performed by Elijah Amaton. You can hear more of Elijah's music and the band Zopa, which Elijah and I play in together by clicking the links on TalkingSopranos.com. Production crew includes Ty Verderam and Sierra Schirripa. We record Talking Sopranos at NYC Podcasting in the lovely Lower East Side of New York. It is New York's premier podcasting studio. Talking Sopranos is a Pod Jams production.
All right. Great episode. You did well.
Thanks.
Good talking to you.
Thanks.
And I will not be going to any of those restaurants.
No one will, because they both closed. Maybe because of people like you who poo-poo it and denigrate it and all these
Maybe you
things.
want to charge somebody $38 for a fucking hamburger. What can I say?
It's not just a hamburger,
Okay.
Steve. It's not about the hamburger.
I'll talk to you soon.